Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit Live. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, I am so delighted that you're here. All right, if you guys are here, drop me your favorite emoji. Tell me where you guys are from. Are you watching on LinkedIn or are you watching on YouTube? Where are you watching from here? And what are you excited about learning today? Hey, if you just joined me, I want to give a quick welcome here. I'm Dinah YK Chan. I'm your host, founder of My Markability, where I help ambitious professionals, leaders, and executives to find a meaningful career, navigate change, and differentiate as top talent to get hired and earn more. So this is our final segment of our Day 2 Summit. And I am so excited to introduce our speaker soon. Before we dive in, I thought I would share with you some stories since my last session was with Carrie Twigg, where we talk about career stories. And I want to hear from you guys. What's one of your proud career story? Share it with me in the comment. I want to see what's one of your proud career story there. So let me take a moment to share with you a little bit of my story here before we introduce our speaker in about 10 minutes here. So I shared yesterday, I moved here to Canada all by myself when I was 16, right? And I had to overcome the culture shock, my shyness, the language barrier, and it wasn't easy. And people always ask me, and actually even with this summit, how are you able to plan the summit in 3 weeks? How are you able to do that? And I have to tell you, it really goes back to, moving here to Canada on my own when I was 16. I learned so much in terms of being really resourceful, being resilient, figuring out things on my own. I had 3 part-time jobs when I was in high school. I then started my own tutoring business because I was good with math. And then when I went into university, I volunteered over 1,000 hours. And it's because, I didn't come from much. Coming from Hong Kong growing up, I have 3 other siblings. We lived in an apartment of about a 500 square feet apartment. We had to walk up 5 flights every day. And so when I moved to Canada, I had the entire apartment to myself, 1,000 square foot apartment. And I just felt so grateful. And I really made it my mission to give back whenever I can. And that's something my father has really taught me as well is, to give back, to make a difference. So fast forward in university, I volunteered over 1,000 hours. I was a big sister to international students, hundreds of them, students from all over the world, like China, India, all over. And so I had the largest group of first-year students as a big sister. I was an off-campus Don. I was a summer academic orientation leader where every summer for 2 or 3 summers, I would welcome first-year students. And I would give these campus tours. I would talk about the school and all that. And I would also volunteer to teach people on communication skills, presentation skills, teamwork, and leadership. I just love reading self-help books, right? When I didn't have my parents here to guide me, my go-to was a lot of self-help motivational books. I read a lot of Chicken Soup for the Soul. The first book I read that changed my life was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Has anyone read that book, or The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? That totally changed my mind on having a purpose in life and having a mission in life. I actually wrote my life mission statement. It was my ABCs from A to Z of my mission. And that's what really guided me through. And throughout university, thinking about event planning here, I was involved with orientation week. So I would plan orientation week for thousands of students. I was the philanthropy chair, the head of that in business school. I headed up orientation week and welcoming hundreds of students. So I always loved event planning, and I actually thought that I would become a wedding planner, an event planner when I was in university. But there weren't really any of those jobs to apply for. So my other dream was to become a motivational speaker. And again, there weren't really anything to apply for. So I just started doing my own talks there. Anyhow, I want to bring back to the story of this event. A lot of you have been messaging me how are you able to do this in 3 weeks, right? And I want to share that it wasn't just because of these 3 weeks. I would say, when I think back is that a lot of the experience I've gained over the years where I've done tons of event planning when I was in university. I've planned a lot of my friends' weddings. A lot of my friends have asked me to plan their weddings when I was younger. I'm usually the one who would plan social gatherings for my friends. But pre-COVID, I would always be the one who plans, birthday parties and all that. And in terms of having the courage, like, to go live to interview these amazing guest speakers, it's also through my years of recruiting, where I've recruited and interviewed thousands of people. And as a coach, I worked with thousands of people. So that's really what gave me that courage to do this live with my guest speakers here. Yeah, so I just want to share that story because since we were talking to Carrie earlier about storytelling, I thought I would give you a little bit about that. And, for me, even though I knew it was really tight, I was talking to my husband last night of how typically for me to plan a webinar, like my own webinar, that's only like an hour and a half long, I give myself 6 to 8 weeks to plan from start to finish. So this one with only 3 weeks with 20 speakers, there was a lot of moving parts. But what I've learned was the first is getting clear on my vision. Second was really getting clear on my speakers. Who do I want to invite? What was my intention, right? Reaching out to them instantly. Once I had got my yeses within that first week, I knew it was happening. And that was when I had to really switch into really planning, logistical planning, which is bring that event planning back in me there, where I had to plan out creating the event page as well, creating the marketing promotion materials, the videos, reaching out to partners to promote the event. I've stayed up late, the last several weeks here to do this, but, I have to say, I feel just so passionate, excited about it. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the summit so far, and I know this afternoon is going to be amazing. I'm going to be introducing my friend Kamara Toffolo soon, and we have her speaking on pro tips for job searching, and then we're going to talk to Seaman on no two paths are the same, and then we're going to meet Madeline and Mann on how to follow with companies when they go silent, and then we're going to take a mini 30-minute coffee break here. And then we're going to move in talking to Adrienne Tom on common resume mistakes and how to fix them. And then lastly, we're going to wrap up with Jack Kelly on insider insights on recruitment. So that's the agenda for today. Are you guys excited? If you are, give me a hashtag excited here. Okay, so we've been using hashtags throughout the last 2 days for any key lessons, key learning. This is to really reinforce the learning, to help you retain the learning as well. So I want to encourage you to participate. If you want to be quiet, just watch, that's totally okay as well. We're saying give the love to my silent supporters who don't want to be visible or want to be seen. That's totally okay as well there. Okay. Some housekeeping. Replays are available on my YouTube channel, so feel free to go catch them. Maybe if you can't catch all the sessions today, or check it out on LinkedIn. Please do give me a like and subscribe as well. Another thing is I want to give a special shout out to my husband and my dear friend Simrat. Carson has been facilitating, displaying all these captions here, all the behind the scenes tech here. And Simrat, my dear friend, she is so amazing. She's been engaging with you guys in the chat room, asking questions, really raising the vibrational energy here. So I really appreciate it. I'm feeling so grateful and feeling supported. Okay, so are you guys ready for our next speaker here? Kamara Toffolo, she's a resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, job search strategist. She's going to talk to us about today on pro tips for job searching. She helps her clients worldwide dare to work differently. She's recognized as LinkedIn Top Voice in 2020, which I'm so proud of her. She's named by JobScan as the #1 job search expert to follow on LinkedIn in 2019. She's been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, Inc., the Wharton School of Business Radio, and LinkedIn News, among others. Are you guys excited and ready to welcome Kamara? Give me your favorite emoji to, let's say, go Kamara.
Hey. Hey, Diana.
I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
This is amazing. So guys, I would have a little backstory. Kamara and I, we met 5 years ago at an event. And since then, we've, become friends, and Kamara's been my go-to for anything writing, resume, LinkedIn, job search strategies. I love her work. Kamara, you keep things you're a no BS person. You keep things to the point here. I love that about you. And thank you for also supporting. I just love that we support each other. We support each other through referring each other businesses as well throughout the years. So yeah, that's a little bit of backstory there. How are you?
I'm good. How's the day going? The chat is fast and furious. I'm so impressed with the engagement. This is awesome.
The energy is so good. I love it. It's been so good. This is I don't even know now, guys. Is it my 16th interview, or I don't even know. I got 10 yesterday.
Unbelievable. Your energy is still through the roof. I'm so impressed.
16 interview. I was just saying with the show yesterday that if I did this once a week, I would have 20 weeks of content. That's 5 months. Maybe I could stop doing content.
Yes. What our mutual friend share for one of her friends called it OPP, other people's platforms or whatever. Yeah. So you can use other people's audiences, other people's content, and then you're gonna have a full year.
Of repurposed content. I'll create mini clips for entire year and
go.
automate it for 2021.
You're set. Done.
Anyhow, so fun. So Kamara, why don't we start off with what's the one thing most people don't know about you?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this because I would say I'm pretty much an open book, but one thing I don't talk about a lot is that before career coaching and resume writing, before my previous life, which was financial services, I was actually going to pursue a career as a professional musician.
Oh, I didn't know that. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, for sure. So I played piano and flute as a child, and I was pretty much gearing up to see if I could pursue the classical music route, performance, and then supplementing with teaching. So that was the plan, but then I started getting worried about money. And so I went into the business of money. And then things just went on from there. So
okay. I'm going to engage with the audience. I love this. Actually, someone posted this on Facebook the other day of what did you when you were young, like, that question of like, what did you want to be when you grow up? I want you guys to put in an emoji of what you thought you wanted to be. And I typed in mine as a flight attendant, a teacher, police officer. I want you to type us your favorite emoji of what you wanted to be when you thought you wanted to be when you grow up. Just type in that. I would love to see that there, because since you shared this
was that one job conveyed in those many emojis, or what was it? One, like, you wanted to be this, then wanted to be this, then wanted to be this?
Yeah, I wanted throughout my childhood. I thought I wanted to be a police officer, but I was afraid of blood. And then I went into teaching because I love marking my own stuff.
Yeah.
And then I love travel, but I want to be a flight attendant.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely have the flight attendant in there somewhere. It was temporary, but
yeah. So guys, drop those emojis there. So Kamara, what's been your biggest lesson learned for 2020?
So my biggest lesson learned really for 2020 is how a lot of things can be out of our control. And it's really our job to kind of adapt and roll with the punches, so to speak. I think the pandemic just really threw a wrench into all of our plans, and adaptability has never been more important, in my opinion. So that's my biggest lesson learned. Myself, having become a new mom this year, I really had to change what my perception of being a mom was.
Yeah. How was that like in terms of what boundaries did you have to set for yourself this year?
I really had to adjust my work schedule. So I went from working during the day to at nights, while my baby slept, or when I could switch off with my husband. He went on parental leave, thankfully, for a bit. So I was able to go back to normal, but he's now heading back to work. So I have to go back to my night shift. So that's basically what I've been doing.
I hear you. I mean, this was just me a couple of years ago, and I want to tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you.
That once they turn like 2 or 3, it will get better with the sleep as well. Like, I don't know, have you been getting good sleep? Or
I have been. So my baby's been a really good sleeper from the start. So I'm very lucky.
Oh, good.
I'm very lucky. Good. So yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear that. So what is it that you love about your work?
What don't I love? I love it all. If I had to really drill down to what I love the most, it's really listening to the unique stories that my clients have. So as you know, but the audience may not know, I spend 2 hours on the phone with every single resume client. And so I really get to know their unique stories, and I just love it. I love it. I'm so curious about people, I guess it is. And so no two people have the same story or same stories. And so I just love that part.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. This is why you're so good at what you do, Kamara.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know if you can maybe share a story, because we've been talking a lot about career changes,
Mhm.
pivot. Can you maybe share with the audience like your story of how you left, your career in finance to
Yeah.
become a writer? Like that's a huge change. And what
Yeah.
are those steps that you'd had to take, and what are the challenges that you had to overcome?
For sure. So, first, I guess I had a realization that I was in a career that was misaligned with me. It really showed up in just feeling like a lot of unrest in my work, feeling like it was conflicting with me at a fairly deep level. And so I did a lot of soul searching. I probably should have hired you, Diana, for this because I would have saved time. Yeah, I did a lot of soul searching, and I identified sort of that I wanted to go the direction of coach, but I didn't know how that was going to look.
Mhm.
And so that evolved into career coaching. I worked with our mutual friend Sarah Vermont. She coached
Yeah.
me to get my business going, and then it evolved even more into job search specific coaching / consulting. So yeah, it was a long road with many turns, but I got there
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. What was the aha for you to discover like writing was your thing? Like that you had this knack for that, or
Yeah.
like gift for that. And
So writing wise, I had been writing for the Muse.
yeah.
So I noticed that I enjoyed writing, and then one of my friends who is a successful resume writer, she and I just talked a lot, all the time about her business, my business, and she was a great writer. So I was always looking up to her writing and trying to emulate her writing. And then she actually offered to train me on resume writing. And
Mm.
so I just took that opportunity and it took off from there. So
Oh, amazing. I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
And this is why we partnered up as well. Like why, like I refer clients to you. Like we've done, I want to say almost like, yeah, but almost 100 projects together. And so,
A lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you definitely have a gift for that. So
Thank you so
shall
much.
we dive into our topic?
Let's.
I love this one. Pro tips for pandemic job searching.
Yes.
Oh, love this. So let's kick things off.
Sure.
What are your pro tips for pandemic job searching?
I've got a lot.
Okay.
I'll start kind of high level, and then do you want to dive into some more details around that?
Yeah, let's go high
Okay.
level first, the key ones. And
Yeah.
you're going to hear me say hashtag. So give me some pause so that I could
Oh,
reinforce the
okay,
learning here.
we want to extract the hashtag.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
yeah. You can give me like your three, and then I'll do a little
Gotcha.
key
Okay.
learning here.
Gotcha. Okay. So tech. I've been talking at like great length about tech. People are probably getting annoyed with how much I'm saying tech. So let's talk about tech, baby. So tech is just so important when it comes to a pandemic job search, when it comes to being successful in your job during a pandemic, because it enables everything we do. Just like what we're doing right now. Tech is so important. So what I'm really noticing about tech is when it comes to job searching on our resume, we need to make it very clear that we are proficient with tech tools that would probably be considered a prerequisite by most employers at this point. So when I'm thinking about those tools, those are mostly collaboration tools like G Suite, Microsoft Teams, Slack, Zoom. Those are all very important to have under your belt and be really good at using for any job at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe not Slack. That's a bit more, could be kind of niche depending on your job, but we need to look at the job postings to find out what tech we need.
Yeah. And would you highlight those things as something that you listed out in your resume or LinkedIn there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would list them in my skills section, and then I would reinforce them and show how I've demonstrated proficiency in those tech tools with accomplishments. So if you made a process better because you set up SharePoint, let's say, definitely note that. If you fostered better collaboration amongst your team because you trained your peers on how to use Slack, then that's a good thing to feature as well. So really, highlighting them as the skills themselves, and then demonstrating and reinforcing with actual accomplishments.
Yeah, hashtag tech savvy.
Tech savvy. Hashtag tech savvy.
I think that is so key. Like with the world right now where things are heading, like you think about all these collaboration tools, like even right now, like live streaming, right?
Yes,
Like that's a
yes,
huge tool, like Zoom and all these other virtual tools. Like you definitely need to know that. And I think when you talk about tech, this ties in, like I'm, think of interviews. You have to be ready for video interviews.
yes,
You need to know how to get on camera and get ready and versus just
yes,
figuring it out. Otherwise,
yes.
people could think you're outdated.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, interviewing was one of my next points. Did you want me to touch on that or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Definitely we need to be proficient in the tech with which we may be interviewed. So could be Zoom, could be Skype, could be, who knows, something niche. We need to be ready, like you're saying. And we also need our environment ready. We don't want to show up for an interview with an unmade bed, let's say, in the background, right? Or like empty bags of hot Cheetos on our couch or something. That's how my house looks. So we have to be environment ready. We got to be tech ready. We got to be ready with our attire as well. And we got to be also plugged in properly. So since the pandemic, I've been having crazy Wi-Fi issues for some reason. And so I am literally plugged into with an Ethernet cable, 100-foot Ethernet cable right now to my router.
Yeah, I'm not using the Wi-Fi either to ensure that I have good internet streaming. Like for me to do this like 3 hours, I can't just rely on like choppy Wi-Fi here.
You cannot. Yeah.
You hit that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and this is something for people to pay attention. Like if you have other family members or kids like streaming or playing video games and you have an interview, you might want to tell them to shut it off so that you can have a good connection if you know
100%. 100%. I would make it a standing rule in my house. No streaming whatsoever when I'm interviewing. Because me getting a job keeps that game going.
Exactly.
So,
right?
Yeah.
I agree. I love that. Oh my God, this is so good. And I would say argue too. I feel like even though it's been like 9 months now, like we've been interviewing online, for a lot of jobs, I would say that a lot of people are still not ready or not comfortable with being on camera or not comfortable with the technology because there are the variety, like even right now, like one-way interviewing.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. That's so scary for a lot of people, like to talk to just a screen.
Agreed.
Like, how do you be more like animated and connect to the audience when you're just talking to yourself?
It's tough. When I started my YouTube channel or started to amp it up, at least that was a challenge for me. I was like, I'm talking to no one. How do I keep my energy high? I don't know how. I don't have any good suggestions for that other than really looking directly at the camera. And I think something you mentioned when I interviewed you on Office Hours is that double up on your energy because it doesn't come across as energetic via video, right? And so just go to town with the energy.
Yeah. Do you know what I do? With this show, people are like, "Where's the energy coming from, Diana?" Honestly, I move my body. This is why I have music. This is why I have the intro, outro music. I don't know. Do you guys dance to the music when I do the intro, outros? Like, I'm like doing this.
Oh, smart.
I'm moving and this is what Tony Robbins does. He talks about make a move. Whenever you have that dip in energy, you make a move. You change your state instantly, just like that. You can do it just like that. So move your body. And this is why I do the outro music. It's like we need to stretch, we need to move, we need to just have this positive vibes to level up the energy. And this is why we've been here like even so long. I try to really get the audience like to pump up that energy, even though I don't hear you, I don't see you guys, but the way you type in the content here, I feel that energy. Like I know there are certain people here who've been holding the space for me the way they've been typing. Like I feel that support.
Yeah, I love the chat. Like I'm just watching the chat go, and it's awesome.
Awesome. Music is awesome, Christine said. Yeah, like it's the music. Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's next?
Okay, so tech, and so next is like more resume specific. So we need to, employers are curious about and interested in hearing how we really adapted to or ensured others could adapt properly to a new way of work. For many of us, this is a new way of work, going remote. We may have been in the office prior, now we're virtual. So we want to emphasize how we've kind of kept things going, so to speak, through COVID. So did you want me to get into some more specifics around that, or around accomplishments? Okay. So COVID.
Can I give a hashtag? Yeah, what's the hashtag? Adaptability.
Sure. Adaptability. Yeah. Why not?
Hashtag adaptability. Yeah. Like the new way of work. Hashtag new way of work.
Okay. I like that.
Hashtag new way of work. Yes. Love it. Love it.
Great. Okay. So new way of work. We want to highlight how we have helped people along, or helped ourselves along with the new way of work. So that's going to be done through the accomplishment bullets that we include on our resume. So some things that we might want to include if we're a leader, let's say. We want to talk about how we got our teams up and running remotely, how we mobilize those teams or motivate those teams remotely. We want to talk about maybe the tech we implemented or brought on board to make sure our team could work remotely. If we're an individual contributor, we could identify ways that we've used the tech to make a process run more smoothly, ways that we have streamlined processes or adapted processes to work in the world or work in the new way of work, how we've helped customers and clients navigate our new way of work, our new way of doing business. There's a lot more self-serve stuff out there, so helping that along. The possibilities of what you can emphasize and bring attention to on your resume around COVID related accomplishments really is endless. You're just restricted by your own memory.
Imagination.
And imagination, pretty much. Yeah. So really giving that a good, hard, long think about, what did I do when March-ish hit? Like, how have I changed things, or what were my contributions to make sure business disruption was minimized due to COVID? So
yeah. So I love this. So this is about how you've adapted, how you had to embrace change, how you had to be resourceful, how you had to empower people, develop people. These are things I'm hearing. I love that, right? This is showcasing how you've had to rise above these challenges. Now, I have another scenario. Like, what if those who haven't been working, and lost their job during COVID? How do they address, like, what have they been up to, or, what's your advice from that?
Yeah. So the positive is it's never been easier to explain a career gap or a period of unemployment, because many of us are impacted, right?
Yeah.
But the key here is that we explain it. So just to give you an example as to why we want to explain this, and we're going to do it on our resume, is because I heard from a recruiter friend of mine that when he was put a candidate in front of his client, they said, why did they leave their job in March? Why are they unemployed since March? It's obvious to most of us, but it's not obvious to all of us. So we have to include an explanation, and it can be short on our resume. So do you want me to dive into like some major details?
Okay. Yeah, people always want to learn, like, what are some examples? How would I actually explain that? I would love some examples. You're really good at that.
We can be quite straightforward about the reason that we are in a period of unemployment. So on our resume, it's important for us to capture the date range from our, say, layoff, or when we were furloughed or what have you. So the date range starting, let's say, from March to present, if you're still searching. And then underneath that date, or beside that date range, we want to include a bullet or two. First bullet saying something like, currently exploring a next career step, or exploring next step in career growth following organizational restructuring due to COVID-19. So it's like plain as day, this is why I'm unemployed. Then underneath that, we can specify ways we've been filling our time productively that haven't been job searching. So volunteering, upskilling, or like professional development, whatever, like just just something that isn't job searching.
I love that. Okay, guys, I want to hear hashtag upskilling. Like, what have you been working on in terms of upskilling? Joshua Miller talked a lot about that yesterday, about the importance of upskilling. And he talked about leadership. It's so key, in terms of future-proofing your career. There is really it's such an uncertain world. And he talked about how leadership in terms of all these soft skills that we need to develop. So I want to hear from you guys. What have you been doing to upskill, or what courses that you've been taking there? Okay, so that's a good one. All right, what's next?
Okay, so that's career gaps in a nutshell. So not the last. One of the last things I want to talk about is demonstrating that you can and have worked remotely. So I think most of us are now looking for remote work. If we've already done the remote work, we need to make it clear that we've done the remote work. So the way I like to do this on resumes that I write is in the location. So we've got our role title, and then underneath that, we've got our company name, and then beside that, the location of the company. So let's say we we were previously working at an office in Toronto, let's say. And then COVID hit, and then we decided to move to Niagara Falls for whatever reason. But we kept our role and we worked remotely from Niagara Falls to the headquarters in Toronto. So we want to make that clear, and we can do that by saying working remotely from Niagara Falls to Toronto, Ontario, or Toronto, Ontario, working remotely from home office in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then you put the timeline as well. You put the time.
Certainly, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily put an extra timeline just to show the remote period. You could put a bullet if you really want to. You could also say something like moved or transitioned to virtual office following COVID-19, going fully remote due to COVID-19 or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. So it's interesting because I guess we don't want to just assume that an employer knows that you've been working remotely. Right.
Because assumptions is what got us into that other situation where the hiring manager didn't know why we had been off work since March. It's obvious to most of us, but basically addressing any gaps to minimize any concerns or red flags. Yeah. So the gaps we gotta address, but also we need to make it obvious too that we've worked remotely. So the stuff that we're a little worried about, we gotta clear it up. The stuff that we're proud about, we also gotta present that clearly too. So
awesome.
Just be clear.
I love that. I know, just be clear. Yeah. So on another note, how can one balance in showcasing soft skills versus technical skills proficiencies? Because I know there's a big emphasis on soft skills, but at the same time, you don't want to just flood it with soft skills where it becomes too fluffy either.
Yeah, right. Soft skills are hot right now. And of course, soft skills are important because what we really want to get across in our resumes, especially, is that we would be a coworker that someone would want to have. And so someone who's all tech skills can't necessarily communicate that they're also awesome with people, right? Unless they tell the person in their resume. So I would really, it all comes back to accomplishments, really. So in our skills section on our resume, we do want to make sure that we do have a nice balance of the technical skills as well as some required or desired soft skills. And this also goes back to the job postings of our target job. So we want to make sure we review those quite thoroughly. So we've got the skills identified, and then we use our accomplishments to back them up. So for a soft skill, let's say technical skills are a little easier, but for soft skills, what we want to do is not worry so much about quantifying what we've done from a soft skill perspective. Like, it's all well and good to say that you led a team of 5, but what did you lead them to do is the more important part. So we want to emphasize how we've demonstrated those soft skills and who benefited and in what way. And that can be explained in words. We don't need numbers for that.
Yeah. I have as an example, I have a friend who's a director level role, and he was telling me since COVID, he spent more time coaching people or checking with people to see how they're doing. So it's a lot more soft skills, even though he's in IT auditing, technical as well. But in a leadership role, he needs to spend a lot of his time checking in on his people. And so as an example, how would you convey that in in a sentence in terms of as a leader in ensuring your team is performing still?
Right. So certainly I'm trying to think of how I would write it. I would say that I implemented or adapted my leadership process or something like that to ensure that business disruption was minimized. Morale was maintained or increased, and that all employees were able to be as productive as they were pre-COVID.
That was so good. On the spot. I know I put you on the spot there, but
you could bring a number into this, actually. I want people to stop stressing so much about quantifiable accomplishments, but you could bring a number into that if you measure customer satisfaction, if you measure employee engagement. You could bring a number into that, but you don't have to.
Yes.
So,
yes, it's a balance, right? If you can quantify, it's good. But if you don't have that, like you don't have the number, that's fine. But what you just did here so beautifully is you gave the so what outcome already, right? You maintain the morale, you minimize business disruption. To me, that is an important metric as an employer to measure how effective a leader you are.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Someone just feels free to type that out. Like, I thought that was brilliant. Like the way that you came up with that, like it's not fluffy. It's actually conveying, even it's not quantifiable, but you are showcasing what's important to an employer.
Thank you.
At the end of the day. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. That was just in the flow of the moment here. Okay. Let's move on here. Oh my God. This is so juicy. I want to talk about the common myths about ATS.
Ooh, talk about juicy. I'm really excited to dig into this one. ATS has bugged me. All the talk around ATS hurts my heart, actually. Like it really, I hate to see job seekers getting so hung up on the ATS because it is way less smart than we give it credit for. So anyway, okay. Yeah. Biggest ATS myth. ATSs reject resumes. No, humans reject resumes.
Yes.
They're not, the ATS is not rejecting your resume. A human is having eyes on your resume. Like, let's think of this logically for a second. What benefit would it be for, say, a recruiter to pass over a potentially great candidate just because they can tell the ATS to do so? I don't think most recruiters would do that because you want a qualified pool, right? What do you think, Diana? You recruited.
Yeah. When I was at Google, I still saw the resumes. I mean, I had recruiting coordinators who would do the initial screen, and then I would get like the ones that they liked for me to look. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to convey here is a human being still needs to actually physically reject the resume. It doesn't auto reject the resume there. That's what you're trying to convey.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. You still want to have those, keywords to help showcase of it, but it does not mean that it will automatically get you an interview or get automatically rejected.
Right. Well, that's a good segue because my next point was, next myth is that more keywords are better, which is not true. It's a quality over quantity thing here. Yeah. We want keywords integrated in our resume that align with our target job. The best way to find those keywords is the job posting. And those keywords are there for being searchable. Should a recruiter be looking through their database to find someone to find you, basically. My concern with keywords is that people are keyword jamming. So they're just trying to shove as many keywords in as possible to get keyword points. You're not winning any awards by having more keywords in there. So just really make sure that the keywords you're choosing are quality and make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so quickly, what's your advice on getting your resume seen by more humans?
So we know that our resume is getting seen by humans. We know that our chances are improved of being searched and found with high quality keywords. So I guess it's more so about how can we get a human to invite us for a phone screen?
Yes.
So I'm not so worried about once I've applied that I'm getting all the eyeballs. I want to be convincing. And so it's really coming down to a resume that is easy to read and quickly and succinctly and efficiently communicates that we are the solution provider for the business problem that's being filled by our job, the job we're going after.
Amazing. It's all about conveying your value. One thing I could say, because I've seen so many resumes myself as a recruiter, is most resumes I see are very responsibilities based of what they've done and not what they've done differently in showcasing their value, accomplishments, and results there. So there's that one thing that I really want people to take away as well here is taking a good look. Like, am I really conveying my value and contribution of what I can do for my employer? Just like how the example that Kamara came up with, it's a so what of it. The so what of the contribution to the employer there.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So to wrap things up, what's your final advice on managing a successful career and job search in 2021?
Yeah, my final advice. So if I had to wrap it up into kind of one concept, it's to be persistent and patient. So this pandemic has been a real test for all of us. When it comes to our job search, the pandemic should not stop us from continuing. But we need to exhibit patience for ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. And we need to exhibit patience and empathy towards the people who are hiring, because employers are just kind of flying by the seat of their pants at this point. And so we need to give them a little bit of grace in terms of like, look, I know it's tough for you, hiring manager, tough for you, recruiter, and to just adapt to hiring delays or maybe not hearing from a recruiter as fast as we'd like. By all means, follow up, but be persistent with your job search and patient.
Amazing. Amazing. Hashtag patience and hashtag persistent, guys. Oh my God. Thank you so much. So guys, make sure you check out Kamara Toffolo's website. She also has her weekly lives on her YouTube channel as well. Check it out. They're really, really good. It's also on her LinkedIn there. I suggested to have here, like, check out her free cover letter guide that you can opt into. It's a great that you can check it out to get some insights, and follow her on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I know you're pretty active on Twitter as well.
Yes. I hang out there a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Have an amazing holiday with your family, and I will be in touch.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me, Diana. Take care.
All right, guys, that was amazing. So we're going to take a quick 1-minute outro break here, and then we're going to welcome our next speaker, Andrew Seaman. Welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit. I'm so delighted that you're here. I'm your host, Diana YK Chan. So next up, we have Andrew Seaman. Andrew is a senior news editor focused on job search and careers at LinkedIn News. His talk is on no two paths are the same. He focused on getting important information and lessons about those areas in front of LinkedIn members. He's best known for his Get Hired franchise, which includes a weekly newsletter, a weekly live show, Get Hired Live, which I was recently featured on last month, and several other newsletters outside the US. So are you guys excited? Please help me give a round of applause to Andrew. Give us your favorite emojis here. Let's welcome Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Diana. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad we're talking again, like in a month, like we just talked a month ago.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to end out the year like this. This is my last official thing before I sign off for the holiday.
Same here. I'm going to be off for 2 weeks after today's summit as well. And
You deserve it.
First off, I just want to say thank you for having me on your show last month. I couldn't believe that the show had over 80,000 views, and that really inspired me that I want to make a greater impact, and hence why I'm running the summit. And I'm so thankful that I also got LinkedIn Live because that's where my audience is. So yeah, things really unfolded nicely after talking to you. So thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you for all the quality information you give our members.
Yeah. So we're going to kick things off with getting to know a little bit about you. Why don't you start off with what's one thing most people don't know about you?
I actually spent most of my career as a medical journalist. So it's something that obviously I don't do now, but when I first got out of grad school, I went into covering the White House and health policy, and then I started covering the science of medicine, and I really enjoyed it. And then I have this thing where, if you get too comfortable in the job you're doing, it's time for a change. So I sort of started looking for something else, and it led me to LinkedIn ultimately. But I think a lot of people, sometimes they don't know that actually I spent a lot of my career as a medical reporter.
Wow. And so what's been that adjustment like going from medical reporter to now reporting job search and careers?
It's very interesting. I think during this time, it's served me well because I have a lot of information on the back end about sort of, the health side of the pandemic and things like that. And I know where to look for information. But, it's obviously two different worlds, but the journalism world actually has informed a lot of what I do because, it's about building trust, building sources, building relationships. So a lot of that translates very well into the career and job search space because it's about, how do you get to people? How do you talk to them? How do you reach them? So the translation from journalism to career and job search has actually been really helpful. The medical side, not so much until this year.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Andrew's LinkedIn newsletter, please do. They're really, really good. I try to read them once a week when you have it out and watch your show as well. So they're very informative. What gives you joy? What fulfills you?
I think what fulfills me is, it's sort of being outside. Obviously, my partner and my cats and stuff like that. But going, I had to say that because he was right outside. But I like going for walks. I like being sort of in the park in the city, Central Park. That always sort of cheers me up, and it's really amazing that we have this little slice of heaven right in the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah. What's been your biggest lesson learned in 2020?
Oh God, pace myself. I think when the pandemic hit, for our team within LinkedIn, it was sort of all hands on deck. And we immediately did this sort of crunch thing, trying to figure out how we could best serve our members. And the LinkedIn news team internally at LinkedIn is outside of the comms team, outside of all of that. So we get to really focus on just what our members need. And I think, we took off like a rocket in March to sort of try to address needs. And then by June, it was like, oh God, so luckily, the 4th of July holiday came and we were able to regroup and then pace ourselves better for the year. So I think, sort of knowing, that life and work is always sort of a marathon, is not a sprint.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder. And we talked about this earlier this morning about the importance of even taking care of your mental health as well. And, to also find the silver lining and be kind to yourself. These are some of the themes that came up in the last 2 days there.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, no, I think And especially for job seekers, I think it's always important because everyone wants to like immediately jump into their job search. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
immediately just start sending out their resumes, but it really takes, it's a process, and it's better to go into it with a strategy. And I know probably, everyone that you've had on has talked about sort of the importance of a strategy in finding the right job.
Yeah, we've talked about that. So let's dive into your topic on no two paths are the same. I'm curious to know, how have people's careers changed since the pandemic?
I think really when it comes to careers, I think everyone has looked at, what they want to do in their lives, and they've had to recalibrate, or they've at least examined it quite a bit. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat from the pandemic was there were two things actually: that they wanted to work remotely, they wanted to find those jobs, but then they just all of a sudden said, do I really want to do this for the rest of my career? Do I want to do something else? And I started thinking, I'm like, wow, this is really an incredible phenomenon, because it wasn't just like, the subset of people. It was like everyone who
Yeah.
messaged me and sent me messages. They were saying, how do I change a career? Should I change a career? Is this a crazy time to do that? But if you think about it, it's not, because we are in a time when everything is uncertain, and everything, tomorrow isn't necessarily promised to us. It never is.
Yeah.
And I think people were reminded of that, and it makes them sort of say, if I'm really going to be doing a job, if I'm going to be in my career, is this the one I want? So I think probably everyone who is an adult over the past, I would say, 8 or 9 months have said at one point, is this what I want to be doing? What else can I do? What are the other opportunities that are out there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were talking yesterday a lot about the theme is around like reset, right? Like rethink, the whole clarity piece as well. Like a lot of people we're seeing this, like really thinking, is this what I really want to do? So I'm curious to hear, like, what are some of your favorite career change success stories?
So the example I give everyone, and this is going to sound absolutely nuts, but it's a good frame of reference. And well, I think it's a good frame of reference, but it's Kim Kardashian. So I think everyone knows Kim Kardashian West. And I think no one's really knows why she's famous in general, like in the beginning, and then there's the reality show and everything. But one thing that caught my eye a couple years ago, now in 2019, is that she gave an interview to Vogue, and she said she was becoming a lawyer. And I was sort of blown away by that. And she has been working a lot on criminal justice reform and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, I'm like, what is it like to be in law school with Kim Kardashian West? Like, how does that work? And when I dove into the interview a little bit more, and I read a little bit more about it, it turns out that she actually is doing what's called an apprenticeship. So obviously, I think a lot of people have heard of apprenticeships, but it's this legacy thing that exists in the legal career space in a few states. California, which is obviously where she lives, Vermont, Washington, and Virginia in the United States are where this is still allowed. So in those states, you don't actually need to go to law school to take the bar exam. And what's really incredible is that you could actually apprentice under another lawyer and become like a law reader and then take the bar exam. And it's one of those examples that I give people because it's there are so many different professions out there where you could sort of group them together. So, there's medical professionals, there's people who work in media and all this other stuff. But how you get there is not prescribed. There are just tons of different pathways to get where you want to go. And, we recommend obviously that people sort of look at where they are going and how other people got there for inspiration, but it doesn't mean that you have to take their path. So here's Kim Kardashian West, and obviously I don't know if she's continued on this because you do have to pass like some certain benchmarks along the way. But it really just shows that there are different ways to get there, because I think most people, when you say, how do you become a lawyer, they're going to say, well, you need to go to law school, you need to, do all of these different things. But in reality, she found a different pathway for herself, because it's, can Kim Kardashian sit in a classroom like a normal person? And the answer is that's probably difficult for her. But she found something else that works. And
Yeah.
this is actually a pathway that people took in the 1800s. It's how Abraham Lincoln became a lawyer. So there's just a ton of different pathways. And even when you look at celebrities, like one of them is like Hugh Jackman. He was a physical education teacher for a part of time.
Yeah.
And when we look at career pathways in LinkedIn, there's a ton of different like pivot stories there. We did an analysis in August, I think, where we looked at people's career transitions from 2015 to 2019. And we found that like bartenders became account managers, recruiters, real estate agents, like those were
Wow.
common pivot stories for them. Food servers became administrative assistants, certified nursing assistants, teachers. And so like people do make these pivots. So, what I always hate to see, and I see this quite a bit sometimes, is when people say, oh, why did you talk to this career professional? They've never been a recruiter. Or why did you talk to this person? They've never been X, Y, or Z. And just because you don't have that in your background doesn't mean that you're less qualified. You may have taken a different pathway there. So
Oh,
one thing that I always like to just get across is that just because you didn't take a traditional path or you didn't take the path of someone else doesn't mean that your pathway to a destination or that you've arrived is any less valuable than another person's.
oh, I can't agree more. I love this message because it ties in beautifully. Like even what Austin was saying yesterday, and even Jonathan, their story is all about how they had to, I guess, pivot or break into like top tech companies, and they didn't have the traditional path, right? Or the tradition hadn't come from necessarily that traditional like target schools. And it is certainly possible. Like we just have to really be resourceful and think about that. And so I'm curious from the audience, if you can type in hashtag pivot story, like if you want to share with us as well, like your pivot story, or if you're in that transition as well, or what you're looking to pivot to, share with us as well. But I love that you're honing in, and it is possible to make these changes there. So my next question is, what are the biggest opportunities for job seekers to stand out?
I think a lot of it has to do with actually sharing online. And I know that that's sort of self-serving as someone coming from LinkedIn. But, what I've always told people, and even when, I talk to a lot of journalism students and I give those conversations a lot of thought, it's about sharing what you're reading, what your expertise is. It's not necessarily what you had for lunch or your grievances about, a political scandal or something like that. But, if you read something in your industry that's super insightful and you could add a few lines to that, that is incredibly helpful because people will find you, people will look you up on various social media platforms.
Yeah.
And, it shows your expertise, it shows your grasp of knowledge. So that's usually my biggest advice is that just start creating content, but that always sounds like so much of a lift. Just,
Yeah.
use social media and use it smartly. So if you were the hiring manager on the other side, what would you want to see in a future employee? You want to see someone who's reading the right stuff, who's, learning from it, who is asking insightful questions. And you could do all of that on social media. So obviously social
Yeah.
media gets sort of a bad, rep every once in a while, and often actually, but this is something that you could actually do on social media that will help you.
Yeah, I love that. And I have to say, like, I was like this year, I feel like LinkedIn, like content creation posts have just really blown up. I feel like I've seen a lot of even posts where people share their story of getting laid off and what they're looking for, and then the success story, how they found a job because of LinkedIn. I don't know if you have any data around that, but I've been sharing, I've seen a lot of them of people getting opportunities because of LinkedIn.
I don't have any data on it, but we always like to see it. And I actually like have a little file to myself where I write little notes about like when people like write positive stuff to me or they say, and it's actually, when you're having a bad day, it's nice to go through like a Word doc where it's like, hey, this helped
Yeah.
me or that helped me. And so it's
Yeah.
nice to be part of something like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories, I still remember this, was when someone from Expedia got laid out. They laid off a bunch of people in the summer, and she got a job at Amazon and made a pivot into like learning development. I forgot what she was before, but she told her story and talked about her skills that she had to offer. Someone saw it, picked it up, and she got hired into Amazon.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I think that's something else that job seekers, I fall in this trap too, because I think once once you've had a little bit of experience under your belt, as someone who's in their 30s, I've been in the job, market for, over a decade. And I think what happens is you almost say like, I have X, Y, and Z, therefore I deserve, ABC. But in
Yeah.
reality, it's always about, I have X, Y, Z, and this is what I could do for you. So that's what I always try and like reframe conversations with job search, because it's not so much of, look at what I did, give me the job. It's, look at what I did, this is what I'm going to do for you with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Are you able to share, maybe talk a little bit about in terms of some of the LinkedIn features or tools that you really recommend job seekers to use to leverage for their job search?
Yeah, so I'm not a LinkedIn pitch person normally. That's actually what nicely not part of my job.
I didn't mean to do
No, no,
that.
no, no, no. It's fine. Because it's obviously something that I'm always prepared to talk about. But it's nicely how my team is set up. I don't, that's actually not what we usually do. But I think sharing content is one of the best things that anyone
Mhm.
can do. So it's really simple. Obviously, on LinkedIn, you could share an article, you could share a poll, you could write an article. I think those things don't get used as often as they should by people. And the other component to that is, on your profile, there's something called the feature section. And I think a lot of like content creators, career coaches, they know this section, but a lot of sort of everyday members overlook it. And that is
Yeah.
basically where you could take stuff that you've done, even if it's off LinkedIn, and you basically put it right at the top of your profile. So you could see, if you wrote an article that you want to get a lot of attention, if you've done something, if you have a profile website or a portfolio website, you could highlight that. I think those are often overlooked, and it's something that will be almost right at the top of your profile.
Yep.
And, it's going to be right there for hiring managers, recruiters, and they could say like, oh, hey, here's a jumping off point for me to see their, written
Yeah.
stuff, their, what they've done maybe in creative studios or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's a really great feature.
I love the feature section. If you guys can just type in hashtag featured, because it's really showcasing your work. And I'll tell a story. I had a client who is in content marketing, like who does like writing as well. She's been doing a lot of writing for companies and also being like a ghostwriter, but she didn't really have her portfolio. So I coached her to like start building your own brand and writing your own posts. And she started pitching her own posts to other like other media publications. And because of that, it helped her get a job a lot faster. And she actually found it through Twitter, but she had a portfolio to showcase her work.
Yeah. And I think, it's one of those things where you just have that section. So if you don't want to like have a personal website or something like that, that can serve as sort of that landing page for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, I think I saw someone mention the open to work feature. And again, I don't pitch LinkedIn stuff, and this is a very controversial sort of aspect, I think. But one thing that I did find, and it was in a blog post, we found that people who did use the open to work feature, where they put that little green frame around their profile photo, actually ended up getting more outreach, more requests than other people. And when I questioned the data team that crunched those numbers internally, it turned out that they actually compared apples to apples. So people who used sort of other open to work features, but not the frame. So these were so it wasn't like this one group was more outgoing than the other. It was actually just the difference between the frame. So at least from the data I've seen, the open to work frame or is tied to an increase outreach from recruiters, and then also just other connections.
That's good to know. I mean, it's visibility. What I'm hearing is it's really getting the attention there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's a great
think,
question.
yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it's, the pandemic is new, and it's sort of shaking things up. So, I think the assumption is that people may seem too needy if they use the open to work frame, but at least from the data I've seen, that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to know. I love data here. So let's move into talk about the hiring trends for 2021.
Yes. So I think the first thing I should say is actually stay tuned. I'll be publishing a big report on in mid-January that will be talking about jobs that are really hot right now, and we're going to give you a lot of data diving into that. So stay tuned for that. But I think, what we've seen and what I've seen with hiring, at least, I do a list that I update periodically about sort of companies that are hiring right now. And one thing that I've seen is that hiring across the board seems to be returning, even though I think, in the US especially, we're entering a really dark time with the coronavirus. But what I've seen is that, in the start of the pandemic, it was a lot of big companies. It was the Amazons, it was the Walmarts, it was those types of companies that were basically, hiring. But then as the pandemic went on, other companies got their sea legs, basically, and they started bringing back hiring. So I ended up getting a lot of outreach from places that, maybe they only had a few hundred employees, but they suddenly found themselves in demand. So they had to hire, more employees. So I think for people who are out there, they may see big numbers like FedEx or, McDonald's is hiring a ton of people, and they may say, well, I don't want those jobs. I think they shouldn't lose hope. I think there's so many smaller employers, more sort of white collar employers that are hiring. So, dig a little deeper, and I'm sure you'll find something out there for you. It's just obviously those that can hire, 400,000, 200,000 employees will get the headlines. But if you dig a little deeper, you're going to find those that are more professional focused, more office based, things like that.
Yeah, that's a great advice. And I think this is going into tapping into those hidden job opportunities that may not be as they're advertised or you don't see it in the news. But this is what I know Austin was talking a lot about. This is also just like proactively reaching out to people to identify those hidden job opportunities there.
Definitely. The hidden job market is obviously, I think it has a bad name, but I think it, it's one of the best things that you can do is to sort of like, get an inroad, and then, hopefully the mechanisms work to your advantage.
It's huge. Like, honestly, I had a C-level executive client this year. He reached out to a CEO of a company, of a big tech company. And that's how he got in. It wasn't that there was a job posting or anything. It was because reaching out, and that's how he got it. So absolutely. So what are the skills in demand?
So the skills that we find that are always in demand are really the soft skills. There's always hard skills that are always in demand, and they tend to be clustered, I think, around sort of the tech space. That's where you're going to see the most demand because they tend to be the most specialized skills. But really, when it comes to what's universally needed, it is soft skills. So that is, interpersonal communication, that is time management. And, soft skills are those things that make a person effective around the office without needing to know how to program a computer. So I always suggest that people, they brush up on their skills. It could be, especially in the times of COVID, something that I always talk to people about is looking at the camera, not necessarily the screen, because when I look at the screen right now, it kind of looks weird. I'm not looking at it. But when you look at the camera, it ends up making more of a connection. And that's something like a soft skill where, once you know how to do that, you're making a better connection with people, how to diffuse arguments a little bit more effectively. So the soft skills are really what's going to win the day for the vast majority of people, because anyone can learn to do something more technical, more specialized. That's something that you could take courses on, that someone could teach you. The soft skills are the things that you need to practice and actually work on. So that's where I would put my focus.
Oh, this is very consistent to what everyone's been saying. Soft skills, guys. Hashtag soft skills. Dr. John Tam yesterday talked about how you get hired through, like you can get in through like your hard skills, but to move up, get promoted is through your soft skills. Joshua Miller talked about leadership coach, the importance of developing those leadership skills, which ties into all these soft skills here. And I remember reading a report also from on LinkedIn about of these top interview questions to identify high potential talent. And one of the top one that came out is adaptability, and how that's like at least 67% of employers identify as that important quality they look for. And I feel like that's such an important thing right now with the changes in the environment, that your ability to adapt and embrace change is so key there.
Yeah, definitely. I think, companies are looking for people who, they could say, hey, we need you back at work in like 2 weeks to work on this project or something, or, you need to go home for 3 months at a time. Can you do that? Can you work efficiently? And they just want to see people who are productive in either environment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love this. So, what's your best advice for managing a successful career and job search in 2021?
Um, I think the main advice, other than pace yourself, is to really focus on goals and set smart goals. So, a lot of people they don't set smart goals. They set a goal, but it's mostly like a resolution that you're going to break in 2 weeks. So, in January 1st, you set a resolution that you're going to you're never going to eat sugar again, and then 2 days later you eat sugar again. What you want to do is, I think, with goals is you want to put a destination in mind, but you want to make it so you can control it. So make it about something that is not reliant on other people, that you can account for yourself and is realistic. So
Yeah.
instead of saying that you're going to get a job within a month, you know, find a habit that will increase your odds of success, like reaching out to one person a day, or 3 people a week, and then set that as your goal. And then you're creating a habit that will lead up to a successful job search, and it's not putting the onus on finding a job when that actually relies on a lot of other people. So set smart goals, and then be compassionate with yourself. So if you don't make the goal, it doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you have to re-examine things, and maybe that wasn't the right goal for you.
Yeah, I love that. Hashtag smart goals. David Mendoza said earlier today also, like also having that plan B as well. And Austin talks about yesterday, besides just having goals is also having these systems as well of what can you do better each day that increase that 1%, especially during tough times where you're feeling demotivated. And I've been seeing this, a lot of people emailing me that just feeling down or drained, and time to just really need to reset. And they found the summit's been really helpful for them. And I think just by setting these smart goals and being patient, like you said, being compassionate, being kind to yourself, these are things of how you're going to really pace yourself to move forward in the new year.
Yeah, definitely. And also, take a break if you need to. I think so many
Yeah.
people, they message me saying like, my 24/7 job is looking for work. And it's like, well, that shouldn't be a 24/7 job. You need to spend time with your family and, just enjoying time too. So
Yeah, amazing. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being here today. I really appreciate your time and insights, and I want to wish you a happy holiday. I love the tree behind there. It looks so
thank
good.
you. It's tree, cat toys, lots of stuff going on in the background. And thank you so much for having me. And I hope everyone out there has a wonderful, safe holiday, and stay safe.
Amazing. Guys, please give a round of applause to Andrew Seaman. You take care. Bye now. Oh my goodness, guys, that was so good, wasn't it? To have Andrew Seaman. So next up, we're going to have Madeline Mann on board. I'm just going to take a quick 1-minute stretch break. So you guys make a move. Let's increase that high five energy. Madeline's also going to bring in a lot of great energy as well. So let me play a little of that music, and then we'll be back in the Career Relaunch Summit. I'm so delighted you're here. I'm your host, Diana YK. All right. Are you guys ready, excited for our next guest speaker, Madeline Mann? Madeline is the founder of Self-Made Millennial and Human Resources Leader. She's going to talk about how to land the interview when companies go silent. Madeline has helped thousands of people land career-defining jobs. Self-Made Millennial was named a top 5 career YouTube channel by Career Karma. So make sure to check that channel out, guys. She has the number 2 career-focused TikTok channel, second only to Gary Vaynerchuk. She's also a LinkedIn learning instructor. She's been featured in Forbes, New York Times, Business Insider, and many more. All right, guys, let's give a round of applause to welcome Madeline Mann. Hi,
Hello. Hi, Diana. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We're finally connecting. I'm so happy to see you.
Yes, it's absolutely my pleasure.
I feel like I've got to know you because I've been watching so many of your videos on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and you bring such great energy and humor, and you have your own brand and personality. I love your tangerine brand.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, those tangerine tips.
I know the tangerine tips. So we're going to start off with to get to know you a bit more about you here. So what's one thing most people don't know about you?
One thing most people don't know about me is that I am so into puzzling. Like just your classic jigsaw puzzle. I'm like a very focused person, but you put a puzzle in front of me and just like that is what I'm doing for the rest of the day. Like I'm just going to go over it and do that. That has been my quarantine spoiling myself thing to do is puzzling.
Puzzling. Oh my goodness. How many, I guess, like puzzles or have you done or?
So fortunately, I've tried to keep puzzles outside of the house so it's not too distracting. I've done a handful of puzzles. Yeah. I just finished up a 1,000-piece puzzle in just a few days because I was just so into it.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. My kids who are only 3 and 5, they love puzzles right now. Like they're into that 100, 200 pieces of puzzles, like the dinosaur puzzles and all that. And it's a great way to, I guess, like it could be therapeutic as well too, right? When you're into it.
Completely.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's been your biggest lesson learned in 2020?
What I've realized is that moments where everything is changing are the best moments to break out, try new things. And it's such a moment for, especially for all those career changers out there and whatnot, the whole world is shaken up right now. So if you let that play to your advantage, there's actually so much potential because we can rewrite the rules right now. So that has been really my learning is just embrace change and not feel like, don't be lamenting the way things used to be, but find ways to innovate and build this new path forward.
Yeah, embrace change, guys. Hashtag embrace change. Awesome, awesome. I'm curious to hear about your story of why you founded Self-Made Millennial.
Yes, so I am a human resources professional. I was leading the HR function at a tech company, and I was the one who was reviewing resumes, who was in the interview debriefs with all the interviewers, who was working with executives to determine who would be promoted. And there was very specific things that I thought if only professionals knew what was happening behind the scenes, they would make much different choices in their job search. And so what I started doing is I started giving people individual feedback. I thought I was going to save the day by anytime someone applied to our company, if they were rejected, they got a reply back of exactly why. And that's what all job seekers are asking for. I was like, I'm going to give it to them. And Diana, it was the worst idea. People were like, don't give me this feedback. Like, who do you think you are? And so I was like, okay, unsolicited feedback, not a good idea. Noted. And so I started building YouTube content. I've always loved being on video, making my own little videos. I'd make little stop motion videos when I was pretty young. And so I thought, why don't I just put all this information of me being an insider out into the world? And it's completely flourished to what it is today. And now there's over 500,000 people across channels who are listening to this advice and thousands of success stories this year alone.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. 500,000. That's amazing. Can you maybe share with us, what are some of your proud client success stories this year?
Yeah. So one of my favorite success stories is one of my people who went through one of my programs. His name is Anderson. He wanted to make the leap from being a college professor, he'd been that his whole career, to corporate training. Now, if you're in corporate training, which I am, like that's not a one-to-one transition. That's actually a complete career change. And he was so incredible. He really was able to find the glory in his story, which is the framework and the system that I've built out, where he was able to take his experience from being a professor and really morph it into his strengths that he would bring to a company, as well as he even got rejected for his top role. He got complete rejected. And what I love, and we're going to talk a lot about this today, was his persistence. So he got rejected, but he kept building relationships in that company and he kept going. By the time that role opened again, he had met 6 different people in the company, built these relationships. And so he was one of the very first people who approached the company as soon as the role opened, said, hey, it's me again. Let's do this. And he ended up landing the role. So it's really all about persistence, drive, finding the glory in your story. And, anyone can make this happen as long as they have the right tools, the right strategy, and the right drive.
Oh, I love that, guys. Type in #persistency, #drive. I'm going to ask your question. What is your glory in your story system? I know you've been mentioning a few times, and we'll move into your topic afterwards, but I love it because a lot of people have been also asking about how to introduce themselves, how to talk about themselves. And I call mine a master your glowing introduction, and yours is glory in your story system.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So they're like sister systems.
Yeah.
I love it. So I would say it's really all about you start from the future and you work backwards. So my whole system is future oriented. So what a lot of people do when they hit the job search is they think about their past and all the wonderful things they've done and how they're going to tell all that story. You cut that out. You focus on what is the next step I want to do. If you don't know that, there's a whole process to figure that out. What is the future and what is the value that those companies are? You build your entire glory of the story backwards from that future destination, and in that perspective of only giving information that fits exactly that future audience.
Oh, I love that. This is all about what we talked about earlier today with my friend Seaman, is about dreaming and also having a vision. What you're saying, just really getting clear on your vision, your target, and what you want, and building backwards to build a story, which is what Carrie was talking about as well, to build a story around it for people to buy into why you want what you want.
Exactly. And it's amazing the magic that happens when you do it that way.
I love this. And I cannot agree more. Like a lot, you're in HR. I've done a lot of recruiting as well. Whenever we ask a tell me about yourself question, most people I've heard, it starts from like back when they graduated from school. I graduated from so-and-so, and then I did this, and I did this, and then did this, and it takes like 5 minutes to tell the whole history of it. And you don't hear anything about where are they heading next? What do they want? Why do they want what they want?
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, I am one of 4 children, grew up in, rural Maryland. It's just like, what? No. Like, yeah. It's like, where are we going? What is the value you bring to the table? And how is that relevant to the company you're speaking with? Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
What are the best stories that you've heard? Being on the inside, what are some of those best stories?
Best stories. What do you mean by that?
I guess in terms of introducing themselves, or telling their own career history or career, like their introduction, to tell me about yourself.
So here's my opinion on that, Diana. I don't think I think people over analyze this section in that when someone is sitting down, I've seen this time and time again with a hiring manager or interviewer sitting down and says, tell me about yourself. What they're asking you to do is, and the underlying message is, I just came from another meeting. I don't know who the heck you are. I haven't really had a chance to review your resume. Help me get acquainted with who you are so we can jump into the actually important questions. Mm-hmm. And so for this, I do have like a free worksheet on how to craft your tell me about yourself, but I make sure that answer is only 1 minute, maybe 90 seconds, because it's really just to orient people so that you can actually get into the nitty gritty. Because professionals are moving quickly from interview to interview. They just want you to really, okay, give me the picture and let's move forward. But yeah, I feel like, really getting that keyed in, 1 minute flat, boom.
Yeah. Really, and this is what I do a lot of branding work, is getting clear, like, what your top 3 selling points, your unique selling points to highlight.
Right.
That tailors to the needs of the employer there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have that guide on the front page of my website, madelinemann.com. So people can still grab that and get that done. Because you're right. It's so important.
It's so, so key here. So let's dive into the topic, how to land the interview when companies go silent. So first off is, I know you're on the inside. How has hiring changed since the pandemic?
So this may come as zero surprise to people, but there's been a lot of hesitation around hiring. It's been a lot of start. Companies had these year-long headcount plans that they created in January of 2020, the world just came to a screeching halt. And so a lot of job seekers probably experienced this feeling of companies being like, let's move quickly. Oh, now let's put on the brakes. Oh, now we're ready. Oh, now we're not sure if we're going to hire this role. And while that is extremely frustrating, I want everyone to know that that is not personal. That is happening everywhere. Companies are still orienting. Their profits are either, it seems like everyone's profits are just different than pre-pandemic. Be it they have swelled or they've shrunk or something has fluctuated. They're now making money in different areas, whatnot. So it's really messed with companies. And so the thing to know is if there's any stalling, it almost never has to do with you.
Yeah. 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 Don't take it personally. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the next question on like what to do when you get ghosted and what's appropriate and what's not.
When you are ghosted, which happens way too often, I know, it's so important that you still follow up. People think this thought that if the company wanted to hire me, they would be pursuing me.
Yeah,
they would be coming to me all the time. Let me tell you why that's wrong. The only reason people hire is because they have more work than they have people. People are too busy chopping down trees to sharpen their axe. They are, they're working so hard. And so they know that they need to hire people, but there's too much work to where they're like, maybe I could just do this myself. And, hopefully this hire will magically appear, so people are just so busy. It's not necessarily that they are blowing you off. It's that they're underwater right now. And so an email that pops up from Diana, the person we interviewed last week, just a really kind, thoughtful follow-up that shows to us, oh, Diana really wants this role. She's thoughtful. She likes our company. Companies want people who want them. And so I think I saw it hit the chat. I do have the follow-up email templates. Like if you want to just copy and paste those, you can send these to companies. And the amount of success stories just this year of me promoting these free templates has been amazing. And people being like, oh my gosh, I was completely ghosted. And then now I'm back in the game.
Yeah. Guys, make sure you check out Madeline's templates. You and Austin have some of the best follow-up templates. I've shared it with others as well. So check it out there. So I really love that. Hashtag follow-up. Follow-up does demonstrate that you are proactive. Just a quick story. When I was recruiting at Google, I was first recruiting for more senior roles, and I didn't have any like mid-level account manager roles. And those who followed up with me consistently every month or every quarter were the ones who got contacted when I had like a dozen of these roles open at the end of the year, because they were top of mind. They showed that they were eager. They checked in with me as well. And so following up is so key. And I'm curious to hear about your thoughts on balance between being desperate versus eager. Like what's that, there's that fine line between eager versus desperate. What are some examples and what have you seen?
Oh my gosh, because this is the response I get from people when they're like, oh, Madeline, I don't want to come across desperate. I'm not going to follow up. And I get it. I understand that there is a line. So Diana, like, let's do a quick little role play. Okay. Let's pretend like you invited me to speak at Career Launch Summit. So you're playing you, I'm playing me. So let's say you invited me and then I just didn't hear from you for like a week or something. And I wrote back to you and I said, hey, am I still speaking? Like, when will I expect to hear back? Like, do you still want me to speak? Mm-hmm. Like, what would be your feeling or your impression of me if that was my follow-up to you?
That feeling gives me a bit of that doubt. The way you responded feels a little doubt and uncertainty versus feeling the excitement and eagerness there. Yes.
And so imagine if I then followed up instead saying, Diana, I am so excited that you invited me to speak. I wanted to let you know I'm still really interested. So whenever you have a chance to send over more information, let me know. I also updated my bio. So here's a new version. Right?
Oh my God. Isn't that amazing? That sounds more proactive, I feel the excitement and energy and eagerness. Like you're offering me, like, here's some information as well, updated bio.
Yeah, exactly. And so now then it doesn't seem like you have done something wrong, right? It's not like you're, taking too long to respond to me. No, I'm saying, hey, reminder, I'm really interested in this opportunity you've given me. And notice like the way you translate this into job seeker speak is, I'm really interested in this opportunity. I have an updated resume that I can send your way. I've made a few updates since we last talked, like looking forward to next steps. Boom, easy, done, not desperate, but instead eager, compelling. That's the way you want to present yourself.
Oh my gosh, guys, hashtag eager tone. This is what I'm hearing. I love that example you demonstrated, because as a job seeker, naturally they're going to say, hey, am I still in the running, or are you still considering me? That type of tone, right? Like that's how they're going to probably check in, versus like, hey, like I want to let you know I'm still really excited in your opportunity, and this is what I've been up to, and here's like my updated resume.
Yes, exactly. It makes all the difference. And it just, positivity come in both ways.
Positivity. I know. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. You and Austin are really good with that. Like I've been also interacting with Austin as well. Like one thing I've seen is like that appreciation tone, like being very appreciative.
He's
and I
so
feel that
good at it.
he always is, I really appreciate this. I've learned a lot from it, just interacting with him the last few weeks. And I want to say that to job seekers as well. It's just expressing the gratitude and appreciation goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love this. So let's move in and talk about, this one. How many times should you follow up, and and how often? This goes back to desperate versus eagerness.
Yes. So many people ask this. Oh my gosh, I even see it in the chat. So I'm glad we're asking this. So how many times do you follow up? How often? I say, especially if you're already in the interview process, follow up every 5 to 8 business days. If you're in the middle of scheduling something, like they say, okay, we want you to move on to the next round, like give us your availability, and you don't hear back, follow up every 24 hours with the person who's coordinating, right? Like you're already in the process. Don't be afraid to follow up. How often? I follow up at least 3 times. Okay. Follow up at least 3 times. It's amazing how many times, even just in me personally, asking for an informational interview from someone, where every single time I follow up, assuming no negative or ill will against that person, that they are ignoring my emails or whatnot, I'll follow up, 3-4 times. Because if you look at studies of salespeople,
I was just going to say that,
right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you might actually know the study better than me, so definitely correct me. But no one ever makes the sale on the first email or the first point of contact. I think it's like the most sales are made on like the 8th contact, or is that it? Okay.
7 or 8th. Yeah. My
7 or 8.
My friend who's a head of sales, he tells me, you got to follow up 7-8 times, to close a deal. To follow up. Like that's key. Follow up multiple times. Like usually it's 8 times. Yeah.
And I want to help everyone feel better about this, because people think, oh, I'm being annoying. But imagine if you really wanted to do something, like you really wanted to drink a cup of water today, but you keep forgetting to, and you just had a timer that would kind of go off every few hours to remind you to drink water. That's what you're doing when you're following up. You are a helpful timer, not an annoying pest.
I love that. Helpful timer. Hashtag helpful timer. I love it. It's true. Like, I mean, let's think about this, right? As recruiters, like you think about how many emails I get, or even for me right now, I have so many outstanding LinkedIn messages that I haven't responded back. I'm just like flooded with it, that, I'm not trying to ignore people. I appreciate people when they follow up, but I'm not really ignoring them. And I see that even when I was recruiting at Google, I couldn't respond to everyone. That's just the reality of it.
Diana, and also, I mean, you have stature, you're an important person. Like, I have a feeling if someone asked you for a meeting and they never followed up again, I'm guessing the signal to you would be they probably didn't really need that meeting with me. But if someone is following up with you multiple times, you go, oh, this person really has taken the time to and really wants this meeting. And so whenever you're contacting busy people, it's almost actually a signal to the busy person that, okay, if I only have so many hours in a day, I'm slammed. the person who really truly wants to speak with me and they're making that effort, you know, that is a signal that, okay, this person legitimately really wants my time. So
You're right.
I think there's just good signals all around.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to feel like a pest, and I get it.
I totally agree. To me, this is like the attitude of how you see things, right? You know, we heard people saying like, I feel so discouraged, getting ghosted, and then they give up. But, you know, if you follow up, these are showing qualities that you are eager, you're proactive, you take initiative, which these are important qualities that employers want to see. And I shared a story yesterday of how, you know, or even Jonathan said, he asked the audience, like, do you know how many people actually follow up after meeting with him? And he says less than 1%. The people that he meets, less than 1% actually follow up. And those who follow up become his mentees that he mentor to help them get hired into companies. And I see this as a speaker, when I was speaking at universities, less than 1% of people actually follow up. And those who do, they stand out, and I make the effort to help them as well.
Yep. It's once you are sitting on our side of the table, you realize how low the competition is when you just kind of take those extra steps. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about interviews. You do a lot of interviews. What makes a candidate stand out in an interview?
Okay, so I have a whole science to this. As you can imagine, there's 15 competence triggers that I have identified that when you hit, especially if you hit all of them, like companies are crawling on their hands and knees saying, please come work for me. But there's absolutely, that is a deep, deep well to go into. But I will talk about one of them, which is something that is a really prominent message on my YouTube channel, which is the power of telling stories in the interview. So what I train people to do, and this is also in some of my most popular YouTube videos, like my behavioral interview ones and my story toolbox, is to focus on, even if someone asks you a question that doesn't require a story, like, what do you do when you're stressed? How do you handle stress? Instead of coming up with some vague answer like, well, I take deep breaths and I, take a walk, and just all these things that are kind of not really tangible. If you tell a story of a moment when you're stressed and how you work through that situation, suddenly the employer is picturing you in the role. Suddenly we're picturing what it's like to work with you.
They're imagining.
And it completely changes the game. And suddenly you elevate in that employer's mind so much higher than if you're giving these kind of words, fluffy answers.
I love that one. Oh my God. Hashtag storytelling. And, it reinforced what Kara was saying earlier about finding, your career stories as well. That's how you really stand out. Anything else? I love this. I feel like you and I can have another talk, like an hour on interviews. It's one of my favorite topics. I think we're going to do something next year around interviewing.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite topic. I love it.
What are other things? Actually, one of the common questions I get, I've been seeing here, is what do recruiters look for in the initial phone screen?
Okay, so the initial phone screen is to see, do you meet these minimum requirements that I have to check off? Are you logistically able to take this role? So ask them some logistical questions. And the third, do you want this role? And so those three are incredibly important. I'll touch on each of the three quickly. So the first one is, I need to check things off in this box. So that's where what you were saying earlier about how if they're asking, tell me about yourself as the first question, you better make that snappy, because they have to check some stuff off. So don't make that your entire interview of you going through all these things. They have some things to get through of, does this person have experience with Excel? Does this person, kind of going through that. Then there's logistics questions, right? About, can you commute here? What's your salary? Austin and I are actually doing a live on that next week of how to answer that question. And things about, why did you leave your last job? Right? They always ask that question. And the answer to that is always find your most positive answer you can possibly give in that situation. And then the other part is do you actually want this job? And I want to stop here for a second and hover on this point, because I think people are so focused on, okay, let me make sure I deliver my skills properly, and I have this and I have that, and I want to show them that I'm the right person, when really one of the things that they're looking for most is for you to say, look, like I listened to, this podcast with the CEO on it. She talked about how, this is how she leads. And honestly, like in my career experience, this is the type of organization I want to work for. And here's what I really appreciate about your product. I downloaded your app last week, and these are the ways that I found it valuable. Like basically just walking them through, hey, I don't just want a job, I want this job. And I think that is a piece that so often people leave out.
Yeah. Oh my God. This so resonate. To me, this is that passion piece, enthusiasm piece, conveying that eagerness piece. I'll tell you something. When I was at Google, went through tons of interviews, and I sat in calibration meetings with hiring managers. And this is usually already the final round interviews. I've already done that. And when it came to calibration, one of the common things of why they would reject someone was they lacked that fire in them, meaning they lacked that fire that they actually want the job, the desire that they really want this. It's not about being desperate. It is about being eagerness and showcasing that they want this. And, I was hiring for sales roles. So they wanted people that like want this job to convey that value. Yeah, convey they want it.
If there are, and I bet you can back me up on this, if there are two candidates equally qualified, the hiring team is really going back and forth on them, they will always choose the candidate that they believe wants the job more.
Oh yeah,
Hands
absolutely.
Hands down.
Right? Because if you think about it, like they are then naturally motivated. They're eager. They want to do well. They want to succeed. They want to thrive. Hands down, I would go for someone who wants that job.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's just, they're so much easier to retain, so much easier to motivate. Done.
Yeah, much more coachable as well. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love that. I don't think enough people talked about it. And when I think about it in the summit, it talked about this whole, it is showcasing that you want the job as well. It's not just showcasing your value. I mean, we talked about that conveying your value is important. You want to sell your strengths or qualifications, but there is this other piece, which to me is the energy piece, that feeling piece that people feel that you've done your research, you know what you want, you know why what you want, which ties about what you've been saying with your glory and your story system of where you're heading, why you want what you want, and how this job fits into where you're heading.
Exactly.
Oh, so good. This is so good. Oh my goodness. Let's wrap up here. What's your best advice in managing a successful career and job search going into 2021?
Really, I think it's all about experimentation. I think a lot of us are planners. We plan and we come to this summit and we're like, ooh, okay, I'm collecting all of these tips. And then we wait and we think, ooh, maybe that industry that completely tanked, maybe in a few months they'll start hiring and that's when I'm going to be perfectly ready. No, start experimenting now. People are saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't reach out to people because of the holidays. No, start now. Start this very minute. Experiment instead of continuing to plan, and you will see such better progress.
Take action. This is what I've been saying. Take massive action. Start now. # start now, guys. Like, this is what it is. Like, if you want to get a head start for 2021, start now. Go reach out now. Right? I love that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. By the way, you do have like similar advice to Austin as well. Like, he talked about, what was it? Like, some of what you said in terms of, I totally just lost my train of thought here, of systems. He's all about having like systems and like habits and following up.
Man, Austin and I are like on the same wavelength. Yes.
Yeah, totally resonate. I love this. Okay, I've been forgetting this. I would love to do a selfie with you. Are you up for it?
Yes, of course.
I have totally forgot to do it here. All right, so let's smile here. All right. Amazing. Oh my God, it was so great having you. I love your passion energy. Like, can you guys feel the energy? Like, this whole segment, I totally felt the energy was totally high. Like, because I'm like matching Madeline here. Like, she's high energy already. And then you got me, Diana Chadier. We're just like the next level of energy. So this was so awesome. I want to wish you a happy holiday and have a great time, to get some rest as well and into the new year. And I want to wish you all the best and congratulations on all your successes.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll give you a Wi-Fi high five.
Yes. Oh, that's your yes. Wi-Fi, hi-fi. Love that. Love that. Amazing. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. Guys, make sure to follow Madeline Mann. Get her free follow email. I know she has like some amazing templates as well. Like go check them out. They're really good. Check out her YouTube, her TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. All right. Thank you so much, Madeline.
Have a good one.
Oh my goodness. Are you guys on fire or what? This has been so amazing. I'm on a high here. So many value bombs and things are just tying in so beautifully and nicely on what all the speakers are been talking about today. So we're going to take a quick 30-minute break. I will be back in 20 minutes here. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to grab my favorite chai latte here, and then I'll be back. I'm going to play you guys a little bit of music here. Where's my music? I got some, what I have here ready for you guys. I have a coffee break music where I put together some festive holiday music for you guys. So feel free to enjoy that. And I will be back at around 3:50 p.m. Eastern time. And then we'll kick things off with Adrienne Tom on 3 common resume mistakes and how to fix them. Okay. Awesome. Enjoy.
Snow is falling and the cold wind is blowing hard. I'm locked inside tonight, but my heart is somewhere else. I'm thinking of you, babe, and all your crazy ways. I miss you more right now. It must be these holidays. You know you're my everything, the only present I want. And oh, what I give to be with you under the mistletoe. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Oh, what I give to have you here, my dear. We could sing and laugh about our wonderful year. I can see it now, yeah, your lips stained from the wine. And that sweet smile you have, your hand in mine. You know you're my everything, the only present I want. Oh, what I give to be with you under the mistletoe. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. I'm dreaming you home for the holidays. I'm dreaming you home right now. I'm dreaming you home because you're all I really want. I'm dreaming you home tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I got you on my mind. Merry Christmas from a distance. I wish you were here tonight.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? Are we back live? Yes. Thumbs up. Welcome to the Career Launch Summit. Yes. Okay, I muted my mic and the screen here. Okay, we're back. Sorry, guys. This is what happens when you take a little mini coffee break here. But anyways, welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit. I am so delighted that you're here. Whether you're tuning in live or watching the replay, thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Diana Y.K. Chian, founder of My Market Ability. All right, guys. So did you guys take a quick break? I got my little French, it's our chai latte here. It's my favorite drinks here. So we're all good right now. Hey, okay, this is good. So before we welcome Adrienne, which I'll have her join us soon here, how are you guys feeling? We're towards the end of the summit. This is going to be my 19th interview of the day, 19. And then we're going to have my 20th interview with Jack Kelly on Recruitment Insights. How are you guys all feeling? You guys are feeling good? Have you guys been making your moves? I've been watching my energy as well. So in between the music, I've been making my moves. I've been dancing. I've been clapping my hands here to make sure what this high five energy here. So I saw some comments here. Some people messaged me that this has been like the best summit that they've attended. So thank you so much for that positive vibe and energy. I really appreciate that. I would love if you can do me a favor later on at the end of the summit. If you can maybe hop onto the website to the mymarkability.com/summit, there will be a link there. If you can maybe leave me a testimonial, that would be greatly appreciated. Or if we're already connected on LinkedIn, feel free to write me a recommendation on LinkedIn as well. I would really appreciate that. If you can maybe share a few things of what you enjoyed about the summit, what you learned from the speakers, words you would describe me, Diana. I saw a lot of you said about the energy here. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that because I know a lot of you have been messaging me here. And if I could also put that into a form so that I can keep it organized, it'll be awesome. Okay. So, all right. So we have 2 more sessions here. I am so excited to have my next guest speaker here, Adrienne Tom. Adrienne is a 31 times award-winning executive resume writer and job search strategist. She is the founder and chief resume writer at Career Impressions. She's also the co-founder of Job Search Secret Weapon. She's a 9 times certified career professional, and she recently was recognized as a LinkedIn Top Voice of 2020. I'm so excited to have her here to talk to us today about common resumes mistakes and how to fix them. Are you guys ready? Let's give a round of applause. I want you to show lots of love. Click the likes. Give me the emojis to welcome Adrienne to have us to join with us here. Hi, Adrienne.
Hi, Diana. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Gosh, you're almost at the end of your big marathon. Hey, what a busy couple of days for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't believe it. You're my 19th interview of the day. Oh my goodness. The 2 days is crazy. I have to tell you guys, I'm going to be officially off tomorrow for 2 weeks.
Good.
So I won't probably get to all the messages if you send it to me. But I'm definitely going to take a break.
You should. It's well earned and well deserved.
So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, yes. Give me the emojis that claps. We've been using the hashtags here of any key lessons, key learnings. So throughout the interview, if I have any golden nuggets that I hear, I will also get people to type it out into the chat room there. Okay. So Adrienne, why don't we first start off with what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Right. I know you've been asking everyone this question. I was trying to think, what's something so interesting about myself? So I'm going to deviate from job-related information. And I'm going to say that an interesting thing people might not know is I actually married my high school sweetheart. I met my husband when I was 14. We've been married for 18 years. What's even more interesting is a lot of couples in our social circle actually met in high school. So the same year that we all graduated. So there must have been something in the water here in the city or something. And now we have a 14-year-old daughter ourselves. She just turned 14 last month. And it's crazy to think that she herself could be potentially meeting her future spouse this year.
Oh my goodness.
Not that she has.
Crazy. I love that. Oh my gosh. High school school. That's amazing. Amazing. I'm curious to know, what are some of those core values that matter to you that you've also instilled to your daughter as well?
I think for me, it comes down to saying what you have said you're going to do, coming through on your promises. If I tell a client, I'm going to do something for them and deliver on a certain deadline, then that's something for sure that I'm going to try my best to stick with. And it's important for me, if you make a promise, to do your best to come through on it and to be timely. I'm a big stickler for time management and, better and best managing my time to ensure that I deliver things when I say I'm going to. And I think it's important for youth these days, including my daughter, to take those lessons as well and apply them in her day-to-day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's been the biggest lesson learned for 2020?
I think for me personally, it's been learning the value of adaptation and resiliency. And I think a lot of people can likely relate to that this year. I was going full tilt in my business at the start of 2020. Was busy. I was booked out weeks. The pandemic suddenly strikes. And on top of having to maintain my usual workload and meet those deadlines, which I'd promised people, I was suddenly having to homeschool my kids. My husband was working from home. And then my husband himself lost his job because of the pandemic. So supporting him with his job search. And on top of that, we had just launched Job Search Secret Weapon at the beginning of the year, and we were in full launch and growth mode and having to learn and adapt that business on top of everything else. So I feel maybe like I could add professional juggler to my resume this year, as can many people. But there's a lot to be said about sticking it out and being resilient in tough times. I think a lot of people who have the mindset of let's figure this out have been most successful and will continue to be.
Yeah. So maybe for that audience who don't know, can you maybe talk a little bit about Job Search Secret Weapon? Because I know you co-founded with other career experts here.
I did. Right. So we I co-founded Job Search Secret Weapon with a couple other career professionals to offer quality, affordable job search resources to a variety level of job seekers in all different industries. We all have our own individual practices where we offer one-on-one support, but sometimes the investment in that is a little bit too great for the average job seeker or individual. And we wanted to be able to offer something at, a more reasonable price point and still be able to help a wide variety of people with all stages of job search.
Oh, that's amazing, that you collaborated with others to offer like another option for people.
Right. We saw a gap and we thought, let's fill it. And this was definitely a good year for it because there were a lot of people. We didn't foresee this. We couldn't have foreseen this that really needed that service this year.
Yeah. And what's that been like? Is it a big time commitment or has it been, automated? Because I know it's a lot of create like PDF documents, right?
Right. So it's a lot of, downloadable resources that people can get on demand. So there was a lot of work up front to get it loaded and developed and organized, but we are continuously working away at that organization to improve it. We're hoping to launch a new website in the next few months. We've learned a lot of lessons this year with everyone else, and we're going to apply some of those in 2021.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, congratulations. It's so happy to see, when other career professionals collaborate together. That's amazing. What gives you joy? What fulfills you?
Right. So on top of my family, right, which is an obvious one, I think, honestly, I like helping people. That's why I'm in the business of what I'm doing. And I like writing resumes. And it's not just things that I like, but it's fulfilling. It's so fulfilling to see people be able to take the information or the tools that I give them and put them into practice and have great things happen in their careers and their jobs. And another thing that gives me joy is interacting with career professionals like yourself on LinkedIn. And this year really taught me the value of virtual communications. A lot of us were forced to do it, but I personally really enjoy doing it. I like putting up posts on LinkedIn, having conversations in the thread, getting to meet different people from around the world and seeing them take advice and put it into action and have really good results.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your content. I read your content all the time. Whenever it's in my feed, I'll read it, I'll like it, or I'll share it as well.
Thank you.
And I love that you're very focused with, your niche or your expertise there, and you get into the specific. And I know that you'll also like to use like acronyms like me.
Yes, I do.
We share that in common. I know that.
That's great.
I love that. So let's dive into your topic. Let me see here. Your top common resume mistakes and how to fix them. So what are some of the most common resume mistakes that you see?
Right. So I think I'm going to spotlight 3. There's a lot, right? Yeah. But, to keep it simple for this session, I was like, let's talk about 3 common ones that I see. And I've read thousands of resumes over the years, and there's lots of little missteps that people make. And I think that if, small improvements can have big results. So hopefully some takeaways today is, to go back and revisit your resume and to make some of these changes to better improve the performance of the file. Yeah. So one of the first mistakes I think a lot of people make is they're using just one single resume to apply for a wide variety of applications. And I get it. It takes a lot of time to create a good resume. So I think a lot of job seekers are spending this time, they're putting together this resume, and then they're just fatigued by the process and they think, that's it. This is the resume. And they start sending it out to a whole bunch of different applications, but they're not necessarily getting results. And that's because big jackets, and they need to find a way to resonate with each unique audience. Is really, I often tell yourself in the reader's shoes and think about it from there. Let's say you have a major pain point in your life. Let's say you plumbing to fix something in your home. We're going to go, let's say, to the bookstore and find the section on plumbing books, and there's going to be a ton, and you're going to pull some off the shelf and do some quick scanning and be looking for immediate information that relates to you and helps support you with that problem. It's no different with your resume. If you're not seeing exactly what you want in that first book, you're going to put it back on the shelf and move on to the next. And that's how employers are with resumes as well. So it's very important to customize the information of the file. In a quick scan, will your content resonate with the reader? If not, then you need to revisit it and fix it up. So that's number 1.
I love that. Number 1. Okay, so let me hear it, guys. Hashtag customize resume content.
Don't
Hashtag customize resume content. This is so key, right? Back to knowing your audience, tailoring it as well. Okay, right. Type that in there. Awesome. Okay, that's the first one. What's the next one here?
So just to go back to that quickly, because I know everyone's going to say, well, how do I customize? It can be a process. There's lots of tools, and I have some blogs on it that could help. But really, it comes down to reading the job posting. Use it as your guide. It's going to give you the information you need, the keywords, the skills, the things the employers are looking for to do that. So let's say even you want to be a project manager, but some of your past positions aren't necessarily project management focused, or you didn't hold the title of project manager. That's okay. You're just going to want to dig out relevant information from your past positions and spotlight those in the resume, and then keep non-related material off. So that's it in a nutshell as a quick fix. The second...
Can I just summarize here?
Yes.
I love this so much. Hashtag cut non-relevant information. Oh,
that's a big hashtag.
I know it is. Cut non-relevant information. I don't know how to shorten it. Cut. Is there a way to shorten it?
Non-relevant.
Non-relevant. Hashtag non-relevant. Cut.
Yes.
This is so key. I can feel already by doing these things, it's going to make your resume more succinct and more compelling already.
Very focused as well, right? Think about the reader. Yeah. Think about what they're looking for. Give them what they need. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Next one.
Second thing would be, I see a lot of task-based files versus results-rich files. So when I think about task-based, I think heavy, dense, kind of boring. When I think results-rich, I'm thinking compelling, interesting, light, again, relatable. Most employers are reading resumes with one question top of mind. How can you help me if I hire you? And for them to get that answer, they need specifics, they need examples, they need proof of the claims that you're putting within the file. So the fix is easy. Take some basic content, revisit your resume, read it, and try to elevate those details. Focus more on the results, not on the day-to-day responsibilities. So let's say you have a statement in your resume that says something like, managed a team. Ask yourself, what kind of team was it? How big was it? Was it national? Was it international? And then what what kind of results did you generate by managing that team? An impact did you bring back to business? So maybe that manage that team becomes something like managed a team of 10 national sales representatives to exceed year-over-year sales goals by 100%. It's going to differ person to person, industry to industry, but you can see how you've taken a basic statement and you've elevated it, and you've given the employer more information to work from and chew on.
I love that. I love that, guys. This is good, golden. Like hashtag specific proof.
Very specific, yes.
Specific.
Results. I can't say that enough,
Hashtag
right?
results. And I'm gonna chime in here. Like former recruiter, I've seen a lot of resumes myself over the years, like at least over 20,000 resumes. And I would say at least 95% of the resumes I've seen are very responsibilities-based or task-based focused resumes. And I think it's because we've never been trained, or I don't know, in terms of how we think differently, of how we think about our experience and skill set and contribution. It's really reframing that mindset of what have I done for the employer? What does the employer care about? Majority of resumes I've always seen is always about like a job description. What have I done? And I can see why job seekers think like that. Because like, this is what I did. This was my job. This was my job. Versus really thinking that perspective of, this is what I'm proud of. This is the impact I made. This is the difference I made. This is how I helped the employer grow. And to me, this is how you're going to stand out. I'll tell you guys, because
absolutely
over 90% of the resumes I've seen are always responsibilities based. If you want to stand out, that's what you need to do. So if you guys are hearing this and there's some like opportunities that you can do, I want you to type in hashtag resume revamp.
Mm-hmm.
Resume revamp, based on these 3 key information, what already Adrienne shared with us already.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the third mistake that I'm going to spotlight today, which I think is something a little bit new. This is something I'm finding people are becoming a little bit more fixated on these days. It's how the resume, they're thinking more about how the resume looks versus how it reads. And so there seems to be this big fixation on using these fancy resume templates or finding the most fanciest format possible, thinking that if my resume looks really great, then it's going to perform better. And that's not necessarily true. Content is king in a resume. You have to have strong content based on the first 2 points that we talked about. Like you said, you're looking at a big stack. You're primarily looking at the content at the end of the day. That's what's going to compel the reader to keep reading. The fancy format, it might stand out and it might catch their eye, but the employer is going to be spending the majority of their time reading the details of that and trying to find a relationship about, what they need and what you have to offer. Formatting is still important. You want the resume to still be professional and read well, but that's secondary. It's secondary. The main attraction is the content within the file.
Yeah.
So
content is king. Content at the end of the day. I can tell when I read a resume, I can tell within the first 6 seconds whether was thoughtfully written, like meaning that they've actually put thought into writing their content, or it's just like a copy and paste of the job description. Yes.
And I think almost all resume readers can tell within those first few moments as well. Does this information relate to me? Is there value in here? And if you're not feeding them that value, then they're not going to keep reading the file. So it's not going to matter so much what font you use, specifically exactly how long it is, if you use color, if you don't use color. They are going to look past those things and look at the content. Sure, how you package it could help support the delivery of that content, but really focus on the content at the end of the day.
Yes. And I want to make a point here because I know Hannah was here yesterday talking about visuals and all that. And I just want to contrast here. At first, I do believe at the end of the day, you have to have great content. If you don't have great content, having a great lead magnet of a marketing ad or a visual to lead you to, and you don't have a good resume, it doesn't work at the end of the day. So I think fundamentally, you need to have a great, well-written resume before then you think about the marketing in terms of the visuals and attracting for people to use your resume.
I'm not against visual resumes. I actually like making my resumes look really nice for my clients. I like the use of color and design components, but I find that sometimes clients come to me and if they're only focused on how it looks and not how it reads, then they have their priorities mixed up. And I think some job seekers think if I package it up all pretty, it's going to do well. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. Well, you're the product, right? Essentially, the resume is the product here. It needs to be a great product first, and then we think about the packaging here.
That's
so
great.
this all ties into branding. I love that. Okay. Anything else before we move on to the next question?
Those were the top 3 that I was gonna highlight. So maybe people have questions, or you have some other ones that you can even think of that are common mistakes that you've seen.
Yeah, I would say those are the key one. I would say you pretty much touched on that. Like my acronym, maybe I'll quickly share, is my RARE formula is one is like relevant information, relevant content, relevant keywords. Second is accomplishments oriented. R is results oriented, and then E is easy to screen. Right. At the end of the day, because resumes, recruiters do only take about 6 to 10 seconds to screen a resume. After having great content, you want to make sure that you've given some thought in terms of the packaging, in terms of this skimmability of your resume out there. Right. So this is where using a little bit of color or the font and to divide things up as well to make it skimmable, I think is important, because you got to imagine, like, if a recruiter has a stack of, let's say, 200 resumes to review in less than a week or couple of days, they're going through it really quickly.
Yep, absolutely. It has to stand out. There has to be different ways. So it's a marriage. It's a marriage of both, the content and the design at the end of the day. You don't want the resume to be difficult to read, because they're not going to spend time trying to read it. That's dense paragraphs, a really tiny font. You really have to, consider what's best to package the information. But then when they start digging into it, it's got to have good content in there as well.
Yeah. So we have a question here from Anna. How many pages should include on your resume? Does that depend on the industry? I feel like we argue about this all the time. We always ask.
Well, I mean, there is so much information out there on resume length. And what I like to say is, at the end of the day, length alone does not determine the effectiveness of the file. And this circles back to what we've just been talking about, that content is most important, and it's quality of content versus quantity of content. So you might have different people will have different lengths of resumes. And I think, the average is around 2 pages. No, you do not have to keep it to 1 page. Even if you're a student, it really just circles around, what information do you have to share? Is it relevant? Is it going to add value to you and your case for the position? And then some people at the executive level have lengthier resumes, up to 3 pages of information, and that's still acceptable, because all the content within the resume is still valuable and related to the job that they're applying for. Yeah. So the answer is, it depends.
I think as long as you have great content, right? I agree that majority, I would say 2 pages. Usually I would say majority I've seen, and I've really, unless you're like at the exact level where you've like a really rich experience, it's 3 page. I do know, like, for like students and new grads, if you're targeting like specific industries, let's say investment banking, consulting, these top accounting firms, they do have a preference of 1 page. Resume, like that's just the industry type of preference there. But I think it's okay to have 2 page if you do have some really solid content, like for the junior people there. That's a good question. And then someone also asked, I saw earlier, like, how many bullets do you have under each work experience section?
Again, it's going to depend on so many different factors. It's not so much about, meeting a set quota when you're putting together the material for your resume. Every position must have, let's say, 5 bullet statements. Again, you're taking all these different strategies and piecing them together. So you're looking at each individual role and thinking, how much content do I even have? Number one, that's related to this position. Some positions might have more and some might have less. You also want to consider, reader fatigue. You don't want to give them a whole bunch of bullets and then they're never going to make their way through them all. So it's a balance of, again, that quality of information over quantity. So you'll probably see anything from 1 bullet to maybe 5 would be a reasonable amount per position. Yeah.
My general rule of thumb, because I'm thinking also for me, when people skim through it as well, you also want to have a bit of that balance in terms of skimming. Usually that 5 bullet, like max, I would like to say give it like 5 ideally is ideal. Maybe 7 if you really need to. But if you have 10 bullets, 12 bullets.
It's getting too long, right? People probably will not read each of those bullets. So consider what's most relevant to this audience and feed them just those. And maybe you keep some of the other bullets and you use them for different applications as part of your customization process.
Yeah, something I've been talking to my clients is you can have like another document of these different bullets that you can swap out depending on the role that you're targeting to tailor, so you're not like losing that information, right? Just have another document to track these bullets here if you want to highlight a particular area.
Absolutely. Yeah, I say create a master file. It can be really long and lengthy and detailed, and then you're doing the customization by paring it down for every application. For sure.
Yes, guys, hashtag resume master file. It's a good one. Kamara talks about that too, like to have those. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's move on. What are 3 ways to improve a resume? I feel like we talked about some of these. I don't know if you have more specifics.
Yeah, I think, again, it's the customization, thinking about the reader. It's about the quality of the content versus the quantity. It's about putting content before the design. It's really about giving the file meaningful thought and effort every time you go to apply for a position. If you're just slapping it together, you're recycling the same content over and over again, you're likely going to find yourself feeling a little bit frustrated. Yes, I know it takes time. And especially if you haven't written a resume very often, then you're probably not skilled at pumping one out really quickly. But that's okay. Like we talked about, build that master file if that's where you want to start. Put together all that great content, do all the brainstorming, refine the information, and then every time you apply, pick and choose just what's relevant within, a certain length that works best for you in your career, and package it together in a really nice way.
Awesome. I'm going to go through some questions here. I think we have some really good questions from the audience. So someone wrote, I believe that, read that some believe that objective statements are not necessary or redundant. Agree or disagree?
Well, I don't know what your thoughts are, Diana, but I have a pretty strong opinion about objective statements, and I don't feel they add a lot of value to the file.
I don't like them. I like to, I frame it as marketing. Branding statement, more like a marketing statement, a value prop statement. I like to think that. Objective statement's about you. Yeah. Right? It's about you.
Not
your
the reader.
document is not the reader. So I like to flip it and think about this document is supposed to be a marketing document for the reader. What do they care about? So you got to really think from their standpoint and write in that language.
Absolutely. It's not about what you want at the end of the day. It's about what you have to offer, the value you have to offer. So instead of writing an objective at the top, the space is better utilized to share, a branding statement, or outlining your value proposition in a short summary, or giving some very specific examples right at the forefront of the file that hook and grab the reader.
Yes, hook and grab the reader. I love that. Hook and grab the reader. Like it's getting the attention, right? The first 6 seconds. I love that. Let me see here. Oh, this one's a big one. How should you represent a career gap? Or you obtain some certifications of high value? Should the cert appear in the certification section?
For me, I would say you can still stay within the certification section, but it's always a good idea to try and see if you can address the gap in your resume. Readers are curious, so give them what they're looking for. Don't let them make assumptions of what was happening within a certain time frame. A lot of people this year have added gaps to their resumes. I think they are understood and expected, but it still can offer the reader something to work from if you're addressing it in some way, shape, or form. And that could just be putting something again near the start of the file. It could be adding information within the cover letter, or it could be adding a short section of that time frame and what the focus that you were doing, such as the certification during the gap.
Yeah, that's good. Here's another one is, how about the section on, how about the section on the half page? Should I include a professional summary section, skills and competency section? So I see that a lot.
You think they're talking about the top half?
Yeah, the top half. You're right, the top half.
I think that's a fairly common approach for a modern resume, is to have your summary, to have a skill section or a competency section. Again, consider at the end of the day where you have the best information. If you have other information that's more valuable that resides within the experience section, then maybe that's going to take up more space on your resume, and you might not have a skill section. You might just build those skills into the examples throughout the resume itself. You don't necessarily have to have a dedicated skill section, but maybe you have space for it, or you want to spotlight individual things, or even you might have an achievement section, like a really short one near the top, and you bring up to the forefront maybe your top 3 big impacts as they relate to that particular reader.
Yeah, I usually recommend that for those who are my executive clients, where it's like the career highlights, like their top 3 highlights, if they have a rich experience and they want to just bring out the top 3 in that top half of the page there.
Super smart.
Yeah. I think what the question here is around, it is like more like a hybrid resume, right? I think traditionally there's a chronological order, the chronological resume or the functional resume, and now it's really the blend between the two of having that hybrid version there. I personally like it from a recruiter standpoint, as long as it's written well, like meaning if you have a great, well-written profile, that it's not just generic, where everyone talks about, I'm a great team player, I have excellent communication skills. It has to be well-written. If it's well-written, then it's good to have that in there.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I get this asked a lot, is how to position your resume for the next level. So someone who's looking to get a promotion, how should they position themselves to get ready for that promotion?
I mean, I'd say it centers around 2 things, and it can happen at any level, regardless if you're looking to transition from manager to director to VP. You have to really understand yourself. You have to know what your personal value is and what you bring to the table in relation to that role. You need to know, I would go back and really try to identify career themes or things that you've done really well consistently throughout your career as they relate to that position, that you can use to better position yourself for that next level job. And then it comes down to really understanding your target and the job requirements, and finding a relationship between what you've done and what that position is looking for. And this, it honestly applies at all levels. I sometimes say, picture the resume reader as someone who's very hungry, but they're also a very picky eater. You need to feed them very particular details in order to satisfy them. So you have to be very discerning with the information that you're sharing. And again, the job posting is your guide. If you have a job posting or a job sample of the type of role you want, take it out, analyze it carefully, speak to people in those types of roles, research and gather information to help support, again, how does my value relate to this role? What kind of information do I need to highlight and showcase versus keep off for this type of opportunity? And of course, as you're moving into more leadership roles, any positions in your past that weren't as leadership focused likely won't get the same amount of attention within the resume as more recent positions that really highlight those leadership abilities.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember working with another client, and we talked about, and first of all, I would want to say, definitely one, you have to understand the role. Even when I do interview prep clients, I always dissect the role. Like I'll read the JD, I'll talk to the client, what information do they know about, the job? What did the recruiter tell them? And so it's so key to understand that, because if you really understand what they're looking for, that's how you're going to really think differently there. Okay, so to me, that is so key to stand out. What was my other question here? Oh, okay. Oh, what do you think about changing job titles? Oh, this is a big one. Your title was cashier and the employer is looking for sales associate. Same responsibilities, different title.
Right. I always say you should probably be truthful and put your actual title in the resume. But sometimes what I do is in brackets, I put the related job title so that there is a relationship, an immediate tie between what you've done and the type of role that they might be looking for. And then, of course, it comes down to making the sell within the content and the overview of the job itself and showing the relationship that you still did the type of tasks and or generated results within the area that they are seeking.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that. Let me see here. Time for just 2 more questions. Here is, what are your suggestions to address a work gap that's health related in your resume?
Right. This is trickier because you don't necessarily want to give any information that could potentially lead to bias within the hiring process. But again, trying to address that gap is usually important. It may be a circumstance where you don't give them all the information. It could be something like you took a personal sabbatical or time away. My thing would be, instead of focusing on the gap, really sell what you do have that's related to the role, and or try to find ways that you can fill that gap in different ways. Maybe you do some personal development or learning on the side, even if you did have yourself focused on a different priority at that time. So it's a little bit trickier for sure.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to highlight your assets as much as possible. And, I think saying took a personal sabbatical is fine. I've had clients where like they went through like cancer, for example. Like, I don't think you have to put that in there, but say you took a sabbatical, right? So good. Yeah, this is good. So my final question here is, what are some resume trends to focus on going into 2021?
So I think some of the things we talked about today are definite trends. Everyone needs to be aware of those little fixes and common mistakes, focusing on the content, writing for the reader. Those are really big. But something I think new moving into 2021 would be spotlighting some of your pandemic career wins, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Everyone has been faced with different work challenges this year. And I think employers next year will be looking at resumes, trying to see how you performed and how you benefited, your organization during this unprecedented year. So before you forget and it slips your mind, now is the best time to jot down some of these big wins or some of the big impacts that you led or produced or supported within your current role, so that you can add that to your resume in the future.
Yes, guys, hashtag reflect big wins.
Oh yeah.
Hashtag reflect big wins.
Do
this
it
is
now.
A good time to do some reflection work over the next 2 weeks. I know I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to do some reflection work. I already started. I was just saying that this is going to be like my 50th virtual event this year. I've been running one a year, one a week this year.
You're crazy. Good for you.
When I was counting that, I was like, that's crazy. I didn't even realize until I actually looked back at all my videos here. So
Big win.
Oh, yes. Okay, guys, this is so good. I can tell the listeners were paying attention and asking really good questions. So guys, if you want to learn more from Adrienne, feel free to visit her website, careerimpressions.ca, and Job Search Secret Weapon as well. They have tons of great resources there. Follow her on LinkedIn and Instagram. She offers a lot of amazing, valuable content that I truly respect and that I follow as well. So thank you so much for your time and insights today. And I want to wish you a happy holidays.
Same to you, Diana. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do for job seekers.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, you take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, that was awesome, right? Let's give a round of applause, please, to Adrienne. Give them love and emojis here. And next up, we're going to welcome Jack Kelly very soon. Let's take a 1-minute stretch break, and I'm going to do some happy dancing to really raise the vibration energy up there, okay? I'll be right back in a minute. All right, welcome back to the Career Relaunch Summit. I am so excited for you guys to be here. Oh my gosh, type in hashtag full day. If you've been here full day with me, I want to see that. Thank you so much for your support, but also investing in yourself. I am so proud of you guys. Are you guys ready for our last speaker of the day? Yes? Can you please type in hashtag go Jack there? Go Jack. Okay, I'm going to introduce Jack first of all. Jack Kelly, he is the founder and CEO of Recruiter and Compliance Search Group. He is also, we're here to talk about insider insights on recruitment. He's also a senior contributor for Forbes. He has some amazing articles. I want you guys to follow him as well. So let's give, oh my God, there's so many full day. Let's give a round of applause to welcome Jack Kelly here, guys.
Hey, thank you so much, Diana. What a welcome. I love it. This is tough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with everybody. This was an amazing series.
Oh my God,
I'm
look at
nervous.
that support. See that, go Jack? I
Yeah.
love this. Look at this emoji here. Oh my God, last speaker of the day.
Yes. Right. And that's why they're happy. They're not happy for me. They're happy that it's the end of the day and that they can call it a weekend. Is that what it is?
No,
I don't care about me. It's over.
We're ending with a bang here because
Let's do it.
you have amazing recruiting insights to share.
Yes.
20 plus years of experience. So
Yes.
we're going to go deep in that. Like just to give you a summary here, I mean, throughout this summit here, we've been talking about clarity, networking, resumes, interviews. And now like we're here to talk to you. And we're talking about Mann earlier, where she also has recruitment insights. But I want to go deeper with you and really talk about like recruiters and how they think. So I think people are excited. Are you guys excited? Like this is going to be a really juicy one. And first of all, I am so glad that I met you last week. I think we met, I came across your work before, but I saw your post that you want to support this summit here.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so kind that you want to support the summit. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to reach out to Jack. And then I saw your background. I was like, oh my God, I should invite him to come speak as well. My final speaker.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope I can live up to it. I'm going to try hard because seriously, you had some amazing guests. Some I'm familiar with and I've spoken in the past, but a lot I haven't. But I got to tell you, they offered such great insight. I was captivated. I was watching all of them and they were brilliant, really brilliant. And for the people watching this, it's like you got a graduate degree in looking for a job and enhancing your career. Seriously, there's so much. I was like taking notes, like, oh, hey, this is really good. I'm going to steal this from Adrienne. I like that tip. I'm going to take this from Hannah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for also participating and joining as well. And I have to say, there's some like people have been here full day. I actually wonder if has anyone been here to full summit, the last 2 days with us, the full summit. Please type that full summit here. So Jack, to kick things off, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
Don't know about me? Yeah, I don't think I'm a kind of a private person. So I know a lot of your guests are out there a lot. I'm not out there that much. So they probably don't know much. I will say this, they don't know that I have my daughter right to my left here, and my son he's outside the door coming in. So they don't know that I'm really bad with technology. So I had them come in and set it up. Not only did I have them set it up, but I had the people in my office taking care. Well, they're all working from home, making sure that I got here. I have everything set up. So far, so good. So it's working.
That's good, guys. Please give Jack some heart emojis here, like give him that support. This is amazing. Well, thank you for being here. I'm curious to know, like, what are you passionate about?
I'm really passionate about helping people. You mentioned about Recruiter, and we started that right kind of at the beginning of the pandemic just to help people. So the whole idea with Recruiter was that you started seeing millions and millions, and I think it's up to like 71 million people filed for unemployment since the pandemic started. And I thought, hey, what can I do to help? And we started Recruiter, which is a platform, a very straightforward platform where people could contact each other, as Austin was talking about in his segment, to find people who can kind of get them in the door. So let's say if you want to work at Morgan Stanley and see somebody else who's there, say, hey, can you help me out? Can you put me in front of that right person in HR? We also have these meetups, kind of like this, but will be kind of a Q&A where people have questions and in real time we'll help them out in terms of their job search and so on. So I'm really passionate trying to help people, especially what's happened lately, because it's tough. I mean, for some people, this is really hard. This has been the hard, and I know it sounds cliche, but when you speak to job seekers day in and day out, you realize the pain that so many people are going through. And for a lot of them, they're just thrust out into the job market and they really don't know what to do and they need all the help. So it's so cool. And that's why when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I'd love to help, because I realized how much people need this information. They need it so badly.
Yeah, that is so true. And I have to say, when I hear this, it touches my heart, because I felt that when I read your bio, and then when you put that out there that you want to help us, I was like, I want to reach out to you, invite you to the summit here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what's been your biggest lesson learned for 2020?
I'm a very optimistic guy. So even though as horrible it is, I'm really excited that coming through this, we're going to rethink a lot of things, from the work at home, work remotely. It's almost as if it gives us leeway to say, you know what, we could kind of tear up all the old rules and regulations of how it should be and just try to look at things with a fresh perspective. So this is kind of, I don't know if it's a lesson learned, but something that I'm really excited about. I think a lesson learned for job seekers or for people working is that you can't depend on anything. and it sounds cold when I say it, but I don't mean it that way. I think a lesson learned is that there could be another black swan event. It might not be another pandemic, but who knows what it could be. So you always have to be prepared. You can't just sit back and say, you know what, I'm doing well in my company. Everything is going great. And put your feet up on the desk and everything is cool. You always have to keep your eyes open. You always have to be kind of seeing what next? What if something happens? Do I know what I'm going to do? Do I have a plan B? Do I have a plan C? Do I have maybe a side hustle? Do I have a gig that just in case I lose my job, I have something else coming in? So I think the idea of safety is a little gone. And I think people have to take more control over their career because there's so much uncertainty that is going to come up that they'll be more confident and they can move forward because they're not just solely dependent on that one job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Someone said that too. David said that today, having a plan B there. So I love that. I love that. Can you share with us a little bit more about your recruiting background? What type of roles you recruited for, industries that will kick into our topic here? So
I've been doing this for almost 25 years. So I started in elementary school. I was really young when I started. And I was a recruiting prodigy. You know how like they have the chess players in Russia back in the day where they would train them. So yeah, they saw me in third grade and said, okay, you're gonna be a recruiter and training me. And so I focus on Wall Street. So I'll place senior level executives on Wall Street with investment banks, hedge funds, private equity, trading firms, you name it, really across the board. And in particular, I place a lot of compliance people. And compliance people are the ones, they're like almost the police officers on Wall Street. They're the ones to make sure you're not trading inside information. You're not having people sending money through the banks to do bad things, through organized crime or terrorist activities. So they're watching out to make sure they're safe. So there are a lot of lawyers, risk people, auditors, anti-money laundering people, compliance, and place thousands of them, thousands of these folks over the years.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Okay. So I'm sure you have tons of stories you can share with us on recruiting here. Amazing. So let's kick things off on your topic here. All right. On insider insights on recruitment. So my first question is, what's the difference between agency recruiters versus corporate recruiters? How do they work differently?
So that's a really great question. And this is what I think, Diana, this is really why I was so excited to talk about it, because I think a lot of folks they don't understand how it works. So an agency recruiter, the vast majority of agency recruiters are what you call contingency recruiters. And what that means is that you're working on an assignment. Let's say, Diana, you're working for ABC, Widget Company International. You'll say, hey, Jack, can you and your company help recruit for someone? I'll be, sure, great. But then you're going to call 10 other recruiters and say the same thing. And then you're going to kind of recruit yourself at your company, and you're going to post jobs on LinkedIn and everywhere else. So when you're a contingent recruiter, which most are, it's you got to do it. If you don't get that winning candidate, you don't get paid. And
that's what it is.
Fees, you get paid. So like recruiters, usually you get 20, and my recruiting friends are all going to hate me because I'm spilling the tea here, is that if you don't place that person, you don't get paid. And usually you get, 20-25% fee based on the salary of the person if you successfully place them. So it's kind of a race to get that candidate before anybody else. An in-house recruiter, it's a little different. They have hard work to do because they have to find people as well, but you get a salary and you have a home and you don't have to worry about if you don't make a placement, you don't have to worry about not eating. So it's a completely different dynamic. I mean, both search for people, both try to, place people, but from the recruiting side, it's a very, I don't want to say cutthroat, but it's kind of it's a very rough around the edges kind of business. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So what does this mean to job seekers? Like knowing that, most agency recruiters on a contingency model, how does that impact, job seekers? Like what do they need to consider here?
That's such a great question, because here's what happens. I'm curious if for the people watching, have you had bad experiences with recruiters, or have you felt blown off or ghosted or didn't get feedback? And if that's the case, I'll tell you why. Because you're only going to get paid if you find that winning candidate. So there's a financial incentive that if you have a job where you have to find someone who fits exactly right and go after that person. And everybody probably there, tell me if you've seen this. Like, you ever have a recruiter who's like all over you, who like nonstop, and you're like, what is wrong with this psychopath? Why won't they leave me alone? It's because
Yeah.
they know you're good for the job. And if they can't get you in the job, they don't have anyone else, and they're not going to get paid. And all the time they spent on that job search is for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big motivation. Conversely, Diana, if let's say someone is a great person, fantastic, but doesn't have the right skills, they're going to say, I got a lot of other people to call. I can't place you. Goodbye. And it's terribly rude. It's awful, but that's what happens. And that's when you get ghosted or you feel blown off, it's because they're making the calculation. Hey, if I spend a lot of time dealing with Diana for this compliance role, she's not really a compliance person. She's a career. She's nice, but I'm not going to place her. So every minute I'm spending with her, I'm losing this race to find the candidate.
Yeah. It's the priorities, right?
Yeah.
It's the priorities, because I always say recruiters don't work for you as job seekers. They work for the employer. Right. Their job is to find the best candidate, not necessarily find the job for you. Obviously, they're going to help you find the job, but at the end of the day, they need to focus on filling the role for the employer there. So much feedback here. What the questions you asked of their experience. Most people are saying ghosted constantly, pursued, then ghosted, actively recruited, then ghosted.
Because here's what happens. It's so frustrating because it's so easy to send, especially now, you send an email, you send a text and say, hey, Simone, I'm tired. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, but here's what happened. And that's it. But they don't do it.
Yeah.
I think as a business person, it's the dumbest thing for people to do because it just makes people hate you and not want to deal with you. And you get a bad reputation. And it's so easy. Even if you're scared, you know what? The way I look at it, even if you're scared to tell the person that they didn't get the job, leave a voicemail 4 a.m, 1 a.m when they're not going to get it. So at least you say, sorry, do something, send a text. But that's a big failing. That's a huge, huge problem. And it just drives, I'm sure for everybody here, it just drives you nuts why that is.
Oh, for sure. For sure. When they get ghosted. So my next question is, who should work with agency recruiters?
I think everybody should have it. I know you had some guests such as Austin, who was talking about, it really, not relying on filling out applications and sending resumes, but find people who could kind of give you entree to the job. The same thing holds true with recruiters. I think the good part about dealing with a recruiter, if you're in a certain niche, find a recruiter who specializes in that area. Because if there's a recruiter who specializes in that area, they're going to offer you the best help. Because they're going to know the companies, they're going to know the industry, they're going to know the players. The odds are they know the hiring manager, they know the hiring manager's hiring manager, they know the HR, they know how much they could pay the person. So you really do get this expertise. And as Diana pointed out, the company pays for it, not the candidate. And beware, if you have a recruiter asking to pay, I'm not going to disparage anybody, but just be very leery because that's not the standard. So the company pays. But if you find a recruiter, who really knows the area, that helps. But what happens too, and this leads to frustration, and I bet you a lot of people see this too. The frustration is this: if a recruiter doesn't specialize in your area, a lot of times they can't help because they don't know it. Yeah. I'm a really good recruiter for Wall Street, but if there was like a Java programmer who's like a genius,
you're not the right recruiter.
I wouldn't know what to do. I literally wouldn't really know how to judge how good they are or not good.
That's a key lesson, guys. # find the right recruiter. You have to find the right recruiter to work with. Otherwise, they can't help you. They won't have the right jobs. They're not connected to the right opportunities. So it is so key to find the right recruiter there. And so a question here I see in the audience is, how do I go about finding the recruiters or right recruiter, or where do I find like an executive recruiter?
Can I give a shameless plug?
Yeah.
All right. Just so happens on Recruiter, we have a recruiter directory that has about 10,000, just coincidence. This is crazy. So they have about 10,000 recruiters on there. We're adding every day. And so you can kind of go find a recruiter in your niche, whether you're in film, whether you're in Wall Street, whether you're in, whatever, your specialty is, we should have it. If not, you could let me know and I'll find recruiters and put them on there. Because what we're trying to have is a really cool database. And in fact, also I'm doing something that I think a lot of your other guests would appreciate. We're also putting on a career coach resume writer database too, so that people could kind of find, Adrienne and Hannah and all those, Madeline, all those folks too, and make it easy for them. So in one place they could find, hey, here's where I can go, and find these professionals.
That's amazing. Now, that database that you have, is that mainly in the US base?
It's mainly now in the US, but it's growing. And and I know a lot of Canadians are represented lately. So yeah, we got
a lot of Canadians. I'm based in
Yeah.
Toronto. I'm in Canada. So we have a mix of audience here,
Yeah.
but I know we have people all over the world here. Amazing, amazing. I love this. So what is the best way to work with recruiters?
I think what I would suggest is that, part of your whole process is people throughout the last couple of days, we're talking about getting your resume, what to do on LinkedIn, is that you do a little homework, whether it's for Recruiter or you look in Google, ask some friends, people you trust. You don't want to blow up your spot. So you want to say, hey, you moved, you have a great job. Who did you use? What recruiter? I also would look at, then you want to use all the data. So you want to kind of then cross-reference it and say, Shirley, I'm looking at some of the people commenting, Shirley saying, hey, she liked this kind of recruiter. Let me go on LinkedIn and see the type of jobs in my niche and who are the recruiters that are there. And then you could go to the same thing with some other job boards. So then you get a feel, this person seems to be really active in the space. Then check out their website, make sure it's like legit looking, and then see, do they have the type of jobs, you're looking for? So a combination of just chatting with people, talking to them to get some feedback, but then also doing some homework and see, okay, it looks like this person does a lot of recruiting in my space. It's worthwhile for me to get in touch with that person.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Another one I know commonly asked is, what do recruiters look for? I know it really depends, but if we can maybe give some guiding principles of what recruiters look for. And I'll move into my next question as well. This is a good one.
I'm glad you asked, because this goes back to what you're saying about how the companies will pay the fee for the recruiters and retain the recruiters. So they are looking for somebody, doesn't really matter what discipline or what sector, but they're looking for someone who really possesses all the skills, all the background, all the experiences that the hiring manager wants. So if they give a list of like 10 ingredients, they want you to have 10 or 12 of them. So what happens then when a recruiter gets that, they have the pressure from the company to find people who fit that bill. Yeah. And I bet you a lot of people here, it results in a lot of stress and anxiety, because then you're saying, wait, hey, Jack, maybe I have 3 out of that 10, but look at the university I attended. I have an advanced degree. I'm really super smart. I'm very talented. And you'd be right. But the recruiter is in this bind because I know this person is awesome, but I know the company wants to have all those things.
Yeah.
And that's why, it's like if you feel that from a recruiter or even from an internal HR person, because they're asking, and in my opinion, these companies just ask way too much. It's not reasonable what they ask for a lot of times. So it just frustrates everybody.
I hear you. And here's the thing, guys. I think what we need to understand is oftentimes when employers hire recruiters, like agency recruiters, to help, it's because they've already had difficulty filling the role on their own. And they hire, recruiters to help them because they believe that they can find this, unicorn candidate, let's just say, right? So there is this pressure as well as a recruiter, and I've seen this for myself. I worked on the agency side as well, is really fitting the bill, in terms of finding candidates that they have not seen before, or the profile they have not seen.
You're so right. And that's what it is. So that they figure, hey, we're paying you, Diana, when you were a recruiter, when you wore your recruiting hat, we're paying you to find this, purple unicorn, and if you don't find it, well, what good are you? So there's a lot of pressure to find that exact fit, to say, hey, if you can't find it, we're not going to pay you for it, because we could find someone on our own who doesn't meet it.
Exactly. Yeah. So my next question is how to get recruiters to respond. This is a common one. As a job seeker, do I submit the resume on the website? Do I directly contact them? What's the best way to get them to respond?
I'm a big fan of being a nudge. I'm all for, you know what? This is your career. This is your life. You just go for it, and don't feel uncomfortable or embarrassed. You go for what you want to do. So that I would first make sure the recruiter does specialize in your area, because let's say there's a recruiter, even if it's strongly recommended, they're recommending a certain recruiter, but if they're not an expert in your field, you could keep nudging him and bugging him, but she or he may not be able to help. So I would, but to outreach, I would just introduce yourself. You send an email, send your resume, and another good thing is a referral. Those are always awesome, because if you know somebody who knows a recruiter and dealt with the recruiter, it makes it much easier, because then it cuts through the clutter.
For sure. Absolutely.
As you folks are, everyone has stacks of resumes that they're either looking at or on their computer or on their phone. So if you have someone who says, hey, Diana, trust me, I have this great person. You have to check out Monica. She's awesome. You can think, all right, I could look through all these resumes in my ATS system, where I could just look at Monica. Let me see. And you look at Monica.
Yeah.
So having a referral that knows the recruiter, and this works both in-house, at companies themselves, and outside recruiters, because it just makes their life easier.
Oh, yeah. Well, studies show that you're also 5 times more likely to get hired through referral. And if you're referred, to someone by to a recruiter, they're more likely to want to connect with you as well, because good people know good people.
Absolutely. And it's having that person is another one champion your cause.
Yes. Champion the cause. That's what it is. Being advocates, finding your advocates, #find your advocates, to really amplify your marketability there. I love this. So one thing I want to add, because when we talk about where to find recruiters, and you talked about your database, which I love. Another option is for those who are say not in the US, here, in Canada, is I like to use LinkedIn, using LinkedIn to, find these keywords like recruiters, recruitment professional, recruitment manager, and then you filter by location or by industry to help find the right recruiter. That's another method. Or just do a Google search as well too of, recruiters in your city, your region as well. There are thousands of them.
Exactly. And if you trust me, if you have the right background for the job, the hardest thing you have to is just to kind of get them to back off a little bit when you're getting a little too pushy. Because if you have the background and the experience for what they're recruiting for, they're going to want to help, because it's in their financial self-interest to do so. So they know if you're great and you have the background, they're going to just be all over you.
For sure. So here's another question. I know I asked Madeline Mann this as well, but I also want to ask you, because you're on the agency side, how to prepare for the initial phone screen with a recruiter. What I've noticed this, that a lot of people have a hard time articulating, let's say, their elevator pitch or just talking about themselves. I think a key thing to do when you're dealing with a recruiter, but this holds true also for an in-house HR person, in-house talent acquisition person, or hiring manager, is to make sure you have a great narrative, whatever you want to call it, your elevator pitch, a narrative, your story, where you could concisely put forth who you are, what you've done, your accomplishments, what you're looking to do next. And so that whoever hears it, and let's say it's a recruiter, immediately they're like, oh, I got it. I understand. Yep. Perfect. Or, you're awesome, but I don't have anything right now, but I'm glad we spoke, because we get to know each other. And when I have something that's a fit, I'm totally going to keep you in mind. Yeah. I love that. Honestly, I'm a big fan of really mastering your glowing introduction. That's my saying here. Your pitch, your story. To me, that's the first impression test, right? So if you can't convey an effective story, you're not commanding the attention at all. So that's something I always work on with all my clients.
But that's what you're doing for every interview. When you bring it up, right? In 10 seconds, you're able to capture who this person is. That's, right? You're able. And first of all, we got you got to tell you how awesome is Diana, though, by the way. Day 2. Right? Day 2. And it's like she just woke up 10 minutes ago and she's ready to go. Amazing. I can't believe it. How do you have this energy? What's going on?
I think after this, it will deplete. I know that.
This is it.
It will deplete after this. My kids are going to come back home.
Yeah.
But I talked about this is why, you got to make a move. You got to, change your state to get excited for something, and you got to show up. To me, I'm all about showing up. I mean, this is all about, if you want to, stand out and all that, you have to show up there. So thank you for the kind words, guys. I really appreciate it. I saw some people wrote earlier that this is the best summit that they've attended this year. So that really means a lot. Do you guys have any questions for Jack? I think this is amazing on top of recruiters. Anything else that you want to share about insights about recruitment, or what people need to be aware of going forward in terms of working with recruiters?
I think the biggest thing is this, where as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you find a recruiter who specializes in your area. So, because that's probably one of the best way to get inside the door. Because if, let's say within my industry, within Wall Street, so if they know the different companies, they know the whole tier system, they know what type of people they look for, they understand the culture, they understand the compensation. So then they could kind of guide you through the whole interview process because they really know what's going on, as opposed to if you go in cold, it's every step is like you're in the dark. You're not sure what's going to happen next. So it's like somebody's like holding your hand and walking you through the whole process. So I think that's great. But also I would suggest just knowing the fact that the whole financial setup is such that it's just not a great system. So it doesn't mean, and I could see a lot of people getting disappointed, discouraged, because it's naturally like, why am I not getting a call back? Why am I not getting feedback? Why am I ghosted? And a lot of it is because at this particular point in time, that recruiter or that in-house recruiter who works at the company, they don't have something. And you like to feel that they would be honest and tell you, but not to go on a tangent, Diana, but I think we've just, from the time I started recruiting till now, it's become so much more cold, so much more inhumane than it has been. When I first started recruiting, I would share a candidate. They would say, "Hey, Diana was really great. I liked what she did, this, and this, but she needs to work on this, that, and the other thing." And then I could tell my candidate, "Hey, here's what you need to do." And it'd go throughout the whole process. So you would always get feedback. You'd always get color, texture, which would make it a little easier to go through the process. Now it's gone. And it's sad, but at least a recruiter, or if you have an ally who's in the company or an advocate in the company, that helps out a lot because they can kind of get that feedback from you. They can get what's really going on.
Yeah, I love that. So something I love to highlight, I talked about this to my clients as well, is make it easy for others to endorse you, to advocate for you. And so what I mean by that is you have to provide them information of your assets, right? In terms of what makes you awesome, like what are your strengths, what's your unique value prop, what are your proud accomplishments, what are your results? You need to know that information and provide that information to a recruiter so they can build a business case. So here's a quick story. Like when I was a recruiter at Google, I screened thousands of resumes, okay? And Google was one of the most, intense recruitment experience I've ever had, okay? Like, let's just put it out there, is that I had to write a business case for every candidate we want to put forth to hire. I had to write like a report card. It was like either between anywhere 30, 90 pages of a business case that I had to write how amazing the candidate is. And in order for me to do that as a recruiter, I need to gather the information from the candidate. And the candidate had to provide me basically the best of the best information and give me like the reasons why they joined each company, why they left each company. And then I had to write a compelling story, a business case of why this person should be hired. And I had to document all the interview answers from every interview they had with the interviewers. The interviewers had to track all that. And so I've really learned that if you don't provide that information to the employer, they can't pitch you. Like the recruiter can't advocate for you successfully there or compellingly.
That's a lot of work. See, on the agency side, you don't have it's more freewheeling. You don't have to do as much, but that's a lot. But to your point, see, that's it, because you need to really be able to tell your story to people, because otherwise, think about it. You have so many millions of people out of work, so many people worried about losing their job. So many, like everything is up in the air, so that these companies are inundated with resumes. And if you don't stand out, if you can't tell your story, if you can't pitch yourself to a recruiter so they go, "Oh my gosh, this person's great," or pitch yourself to, and it sounds crass to say pitch yourself, but this is what it is, to, the internal HR people and the hiring managers, and have a really effective story so that they're like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Guys, put it in there, hashtag pitch yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to have to pitch yourself, no doubt. I love doing interview coaching because at the end of the day, you need to be able to answer why you. Why should the employer hire you? And you have to know what is your competitive edge and your competitive advantage there.
And the thing is too, it sounds crass. Like as I'm saying it, it feels kind of icky, to say, hey, you got to pitch yourself like you're a product and not a human being. But actually, the recruiters, the hiring managers want that because they don't want to have to sift through all these applications and resumes and I don't know. But if they feel, wow, Diana is great. She has everything that we need. And, because you're just articulating point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, they're like, thank you. So they actually want that. You know what I mean? So you may feel uncomfortable kind of saying, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I'm about. For a recruiter, I could tell you that makes my life so much easier because now I get it. Oh, okay, great. Now maybe you're perfect for this one job we're talking about, or maybe even better. This happens all the time. You're even better for this other job I have over here. Let's take a look at this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to answer a quick question. Someone asked, isn't a Google group decision? Yes, it's a group decision hiring making. But essentially, all the interviewers have to say yes in order to move forward. And if they all say yes, then I can write the business case, and then it gets submitted to a hiring committee for review. And then a group of people will review it. If they don't like what I wrote, I need to update it again to build my case. And then from there, it goes for a compensation review there. So it's a very strict process there. It's not easy to get hired. I read, the stat, I remember them telling, it's harder to get hired into Google than getting into Harvard.
Especially given that process, because it's so time consuming, huh?
Yeah. Oh my God, this was so good, Jack. Thank you so much. Oh my God, we learned so much about recruitment, the insider information here on agency recruitment. I love it. Tell me guys, what are your key learnings? I know you guys been putting in here, pitch yourself, why you. Absolutely. And I saw someone had how do I write my story? I'm going to do a shameless plug as well. If you check out my website, mymarkley.com/courses, I have a mini course called Mastering Your Glowing Introduction, where I walk you through my framework and process of how to tell a great story and have tons of examples, my frameworks to guide you through, and also how to present yourself effectively on video camera there.
Oh, and that's another thing for a recruiter. I'm so glad you said that, because that's another skill you have to be able to do. Like right now with this, I'm so weirded out because when I look one way, the other way, it's reversed. Yeah. So you got it. Yeah. You want to be so prepared when you're speaking to a recruiter that you've checked out, the camera, the lights, the sound, because you could be fantastic, but if the lights are not working, the camera's buggy, your phone is all glitchy, you're going to blow it. So you have all these little things also you have to watch out for.
Yeah, the little things, right? Thank you so much, Jack. This was so amazing. And guys, make sure you check out Jack's websites there. Follow him on LinkedIn, YouTube. I know you just started your live as well, right? You got your live show. Yeah. Amazing.
You got to join me. You got to come on.
Yeah. Let's plan something for next year. We'll definitely.
That's much pressure that I put on you on the spot, right? But that's what I'm doing this for your audience because this is what they have to do. Hey, you got to make your shot. That's it, right? You got to shoot.
I know. Absolutely. Yeah,
so that's a departing recruiter tip, right? You always ask for the order.
Ask for it, right? Yeah. Ask for the job. Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to be on your show next year. Yeah. And guys, make sure to check out Jack's writing as well at Forbes.com/sites and /Jack Kelly there. Okay. So thank you so much. I want to wish you a happy holidays and enjoy your time with your family. Stay safe. And I will be in touch next year and wishing you a great new year.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, guys. Please give a round of applause to Jack, guys. Give tons of emojis, click celebrate, get some hearts here. Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. We just wrapped up my 20th interview for the Career Relaunch Summit. Oh my gosh. How do you guys feel? Wasn't this amazing? Oh my God. 20 interviews in 2 days. That was over 10 hours of interviewing, talking here. I think I'm gonna definitely need some honey, lots of R&R this weekend there. But guys, this has been amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We had constantly over at least 100 people live with us. And I know there's a lot of people who's going to catch the replays afterwards. And so a few things. One is I would love for you to, share this summit to any of your friends or colleagues who could benefit from this. Really my mission intention is I just want to give back in a big way by bringing some amazing leaders and experts in careers and leadership, so that we can really help you and give you that inspiration, that motivation, that imagination to help you reset and relaunch your career for 2021. So that's really my vision. And so, yeah, feel free to share that. I have the playlist created already on my YouTube channel. Just share that playlist link and people will get access to all 4 videos. So it's really easy for them. The other thing is I want to ask is if you've been loving this and you liked what you saw today, I will love if you can drop me a testimonial. So if you head to mymarketplace.com/summit where you signed up for this summit there, I have a quick Google form for you to submit a testimonial. It's really easy. Just enter your name, your email, and a brief testimonial. I would love to feature it on the website or on social media as well. So if you can give me that support, I would appreciate it as well there. Who knows when I may run my next summit next year. So you never know who I will bring on board. So guys, this was amazing. I'm going to just do a quick recap here of learning. Now, for those who couldn't join us for the full 2-day summit, I'm going to do a few quick lessons of, there's been some consistent messages I've been hearing the last 2 days from our speakers. So let me start off. Number 1 is around clarity. Clarity before job search, clarity before strategy. That's been a whole key theme of knowing yourself, the self-awareness, knowing your vision of what you want. That's been the consistent theme throughout a lot of speakers there. And so I'm really big on that because I'm a big believer when you know yourself and you know you want what's important to you, that's how you become more confident, more compelling in the way you communicate your messaging to your audience. Okay, so that's the first step, is around clarity. The second step, what I hear a theme is around personal branding and brand building. So this is like, the work after you do the clarity, you want to really look at essentially your assets, your competitive edge, right? What makes you unique? What are your strengths? What are your qualities? What are those sound bites? What are the taglines? What are those keywords? Those are things that you really want to get clear on. Okay. By the way, this is the theme that I've been hearing, and this is the process that I walk my clients through as well when I coach my clients. So the second is that brand building. Okay. So once you had that, what I've been hearing, then it is really around having that plan and strategy, right? We've heard from like Austin, Jonathan, David today as well, is having that plan, having systems, having these habits that you can work towards something every day, that extra 1% there. Okay, having that game plan, knowing what you're targeting. So I call it your targeted ROIs, knowing your list of roles, organizations, and industries, right? And then who are your target people? So you talked a lot about that yesterday with Jonathan and Austin as well. You got to know your list of people who are your advocates, the influencers, the people who refer you and endorse you. Okay, go find those people because that's how you're going to then amplify your reach, your visibility. Okay, when you have these advocates to promote you, you're going to attract more opportunities as well. Okay, so that's what I've been hearing. The other is around the marketing, right? So we talked a lot yesterday about the marketing, the resumes, the LinkedIn, and even like the interviews as well, is you have to have some compelling content, right? Whether it content the content is king on your resume, LinkedIn profile, right? You got to have that great tagline, the great bio there, the great cover letter, compelling content for your outreach messages. That's the big part. You have to have great content to sell yourself effectively, right? That's the marketing piece. And then once you have that, right, that's when you really then, what I'm hearing, proactively putting yourself out there to network, right? This is where the proactiveness, persistency, being patient, following up, asking open-ended questions, pitching yourself. It's actually doing the work. It's like making things happen, right? So one of the things I like to challenge people on is create a list of 100 people that you want to reach out to, okay? I always say 100. And the reason why is because I know from my experience as a recruiter, for me to hire one person for an employer, typically I need to look at like 1,000 profiles and narrow it down to like my top 50 to 100 profiles. And then from there, I'll probably get like my top 10 or 5 people to present. And it's similar, like having that funnel there, right? So that you need that list. If you don't have a list, you are not focused enough in terms of your efforts of your job search, okay? So this is beyond just applying for online. This is thinking of those unconventional strategies that we've been talking about, of how to follow up, reach out, how to find that common ground, how to get that meeting there, okay? And the last one is on interview prep. I know we didn't talk too much about this, and I can have another talk on this because that's my area of expertise, is on interview prep and practice. But the one of the things that we talked a lot about here today, it is mastering your glowing introduction, your elevator pitch, the storytelling, you know, that Carrie talked about, even Kamara talked about as well. You got to master your story. You need to have at least 5 to 7 solid examples of stories that you can talk about, whether they're success stories, key lesson stories, overcoming obstacle stories, whatever the different types of stories that you can map out there so that you are ready. Okay, so that's really the journey. When you think about this, it's a lot, right? And I'm curious to know, like based on these summaries that I just did here, where are you in the process? Are you in the clarity phase? Are you in the brand building phase? Or are you in that strategy and planning phase? Are you in the content creation phase? Or are you in that networking, a proactive outreach phase? Or are you into interview prep? You know, type in the comment and let me know what area that you really need to focus on, you know, in the next month or so to help you really build that momentum. Okay, like type in that comment, let me know what stage are you at with your process there, the journey. Okay, I want to hear that and just to see that here. So I see here a lot of you said clarity, clarity, clarity. Okay, a lot of you said that. Networking phase. Okay, wow, a lot of you are in that clarity phase. One of the book I love recommending, I actually have it here as well. It's called Designing Your Life. The newer version is called Designing Your Work. It's written by 2 Stanford professors, and it's all about using design thinking to think about your life and career. So that could be a great start, a very affordable option to help you with that clarity piece. Okay. Okay, good. So I see some of you, the branding, networking, improving resume gradually. Oh, amazing to hear that. Yes, revamping that resume. Strategy phase. Okay, some of you are in that planning as well. So yeah, so it's just recognizing where you at in your journey, right? And working towards that and measuring those goals is so key. It is, I know it's a lot, but this is why it's so key that you celebrate your wins. You give yourself a pat on the back, right? In terms of making progress, right? Even though I know at the end of the day, ultimately, I understand the goal is you want to get hired as fast as possible. I understand that. But keep in mind, it is a journey and you got to give yourself patience, grace, and kindness, and know that it will happen, and ask yourself, what else can I do differently, right? If you try this, remember how Alison was saying the A/B testing, you know, you try this, if it's not getting results, test it out with something else. And then you tweak it again. And then as you keep doing that and you're tracking it, you're going to see where you can make those gradual improvements there. Okay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Structuring the networking phase that I'm seeing here. I want the right job, not just a job. I totally hear you. Okay. This year, I've been hearing a lot of people telling me that I really want to find the right opportunity as well, even though, you know, it's COVID, because I want to be happy. And this also goes back to getting clear on what you want and why you want what you want, and why you're the best candidate. When you get clear on that message, that's how you can also find that right fit there. Okay. The book is called Designing Your Life. Now, it's right here. Let me show you this book. My book, Designing Your Life. Yeah, I think it's about like $20. It's a great book to read. I recommend it to a lot of people who are in that clarity phase. Okay. The author is Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Okay. It's a great book to pick up there. Good. Oh, this is so good, guys. I am so happy. I know I am exhausted, but I am so happy because I really feel that I've accomplished a very big task in the last 3 weeks. I just shared this yesterday in case you guys missed it, but it was literally a month before Christmas, November 25th. I woke up one morning where I said, I want to do something in a big way. And I didn't know what that was. And I just tapped in, to really listen, my guided angels here of, what should I do? And, I heard the message of running a summit, bring together industry leaders and professionals. So instantly that day I took massive action and I reached out to people that I know, that I respect. And I remember it was like the next day was Thanksgiving holiday in the US. So I was like, I'm not sure if I'll get I'll get the response back from the speakers. And within a week, I was able to gather them, and I knew it was going to happen. And I just took massive action. I had to work extra hours to make this happen. And I really went above and beyond as well. Like I have my certain level of standard of what I'd like to deliver in terms of quality. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Even those intro, outro music, I like that because it raised the energy up for me as well. It was a nice break there. So anyhow, thank you so much for your time, your presence, your energy, your encouragement. I hope you met some great people along the way as well. Feel free to connect with others. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see a lot of the text here. If there's anyone that you want to connect with, feel free to reach out to them as well. And stay in touch. I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot of you in the new year. I will be doing more regular lives in the new year. Now that I have LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live, I plan on doing either like weekly live shows where either I teach something or I invite a guest, something similar to this format, but on a shorter scale. It'll be like a 1 hour duration versus a whole day duration there. So thank you so much. I want to wish you all a happy holiday. I'm sending you good vibes, good energy, love as well. I know it can be a very difficult time right now for a lot of people. Like I know here in Canada, we just had our second wave lockdown here. So, and I know it's tough for a lot of people. So I just want to send that good vibe and energy there, and make sure to check in with your friends and loved ones. And I wish you all well, and let's stay in touch. I will be in touch. I will send you guys the recording later on, and please do help me fill out the testimonial just by going to the website at mymarketly.com/summit there. All right, guys, you take care. Have a wonderful holiday, and wishing you an amazing new year in 2021. Cheers.